Chapter 965. Even with the strength of Qin Wushuang's consciousness, he felt as though he could get lost at any moment in this pantheon disorienting palace. All of a sudden, an extremely bad premonition surged into his mind. Little did he know that the great demonic god was already closing in on him. The strength of this power of the spirit was something that Qin Wushuang had not even encountered from Ding Yundu or the Thunder Master God before. He could not help but be startled. The Heaven Branch Kuei wolf blocked in front of him and slashed out with two swords. A heavenly venerate god weapon? When the great demonic lord caught sight of these two swords, his eyes lit up. However, he still closed in without retreating or blocking. The flames formed into the shape of a pair of gigantic palms that grabbed out. This was truly the first time Qin Wushuang had come across such a way of fighting. In the face of a heavenly venerate god weapon, even Lin Jingfeng, who possessed a master god weapon, could only avoid it. But to think that this flame that was formed from a spirit would use its spirit to clash against his heavenly venerate god weapon. This boldness had Qin Wushuang astounded in his heart. He knew that this was strong. Drawing out his sword skill, he was about to launch a second attack. Right at this moment, the two swords of the Heaven Branch Kuei wolf were sucked in by the flame and swept over. This turn of events had Qin Wushuang dumbfounded. That flame that had swept away the Heaven Branch Kuei wolf was as good as facing Qin Wushuang directly. The red light that covered the entire sky slammed down like a gigantic flying carpet. It was as though there was a gigantic bloody mouth that was trying to devour everything. Right at this moment, a powerful golden light burst forth from Qin Wushuang's body as a mighty aura seemed to have been awakened. He hollered out, "Sound demon, what are you trying to do?" The great demonic lord's heart skipped a beat. He could not help but be stunned as he looked at Qin Wushuang in disbelief. "Sound demon, you've got some guts, eh? To think that you would dare to strike out at me. Why, you're the Shura of Gojoseon. Sound demon, at least you have some memory, eh? Why, do you think that just because your majesty is dead you can look down on your majesty? Your majesty, the sound demon wouldn't dare. 600,000 years ago, I heard that you went into seclusion, but I never thought that you... Don't talk nonsense, don't say these empty words. At that time, many people knew that I had been dealt with. You sealed me in this damn bow. If I didn't meet the fated one, how could I be woken up from my slumber? Haha, sound demon, what's going on with you? Bird bow? Qin Wushuang was startled. He could not help but look at the graceful spiritual bow on his shoulder. Could it be that there was actually a peerless expert sealed within the graceful spiritual bow? This was completely unexpected. For a time, Qin Wushuang was stunned. No wonder he had always felt that this graceful spiritual bow had a powerful demonic power. Could it be that this was the source? Qin Wushuang had always felt that this graceful spiritual bow was like a deep ocean with no end. No matter how he fused it, it seemed that there was always endless potential. It turned out that there was actually a powerful expert sleeping within the graceful spiritual bow. Listening to his tone, he was much more powerful than the fierce sound demon in front of him. Shura of Gojoseon, this name made people shudder with fear. The secret of the graceful spiritual bow that had been lingering in Qin Wushuang's mind was finally solved. Your Majesty, please don't laugh at us. We were all captured by a powerful expert and sealed in this 10,000 gods maze palace. Who is that powerful expert? This palace, what a great style, what a great method. Why do I feel that this style is a little familiar? Could it be that old bastard Qiyang? Your Majesty! How did you know? The sound demon was shocked. That old bastard always considered himself to be on the righteous path. Back then, didn't I also fall into his hands? That old bastard, fishing for fame, he really deserves to die. However, although the Shura of Gojoseon's tone was vicious, there was not much hatred. After hundreds of thousands of years, this hatred had already been diluted. Forget it, let's not talk about the past. After sleeping for hundreds of thousands of years, I'm afraid I can't beat that old guy. Shura of Gojosian cursed, Sound Demon, you bastard, listen carefully. From now on, this guy represents me. All of you must listen to him. Do you understand? The Sound Demon was overjoyed and said in a trembling voice, "It's our honor to be able to follow you, Your Majesty." Cut the crap. I just woke up and don't know much about the situation. You decide. Shura of Gojosian trusted the Sound Demon very much. It was no wonder. The Sound Demon was originally just a small leader under his rule. To be able to serve the great Shura of Gojosian was the Sound Demon's good fortune over hundreds of lifetimes. The Sound Demon's fierce eyes suddenly revealed an extremely pleased expression. Lord Shura of Gojosian's words meant that he trusted him. All right, Your Majesty, watch me. Those two bastards are going against the Little Master, aren't they? I'll let my children annihilate them with the infinite demon sea. Humph, the body of a king god. Don't waste it. Shura of Gojosian laughed sinisterly. Hee hee, Your Majesty, do you want me to save one for you? The Sound Demon asked ingratiatingly. No need. I can't get out now. Besides, the body of a king god is too weak. Shura of Gojosian said lightly. For a powerhouse like Shura of Gojosian, who was at the level of the Holy Emperor, the body of a king god was indeed a little weak. The Sound Demon laughed and said, Your Majesty's remarkable ability is unparalleled. The body of a king god is indeed not worthy of your strength. Stop flattering me. Don't just talk without action. Get serious. Qin Wushuang saw them talking and talking like he was in a dream. Hee hee, kid, I, Shura of Gojosian, repay kindness. Kid, you constantly used your divine sense to stimulate me and fuse with me. Hee hee, although you didn't wake me up immediately, you gave me a lot of stimulation. This time, when I wandered into a place with such dense devil chi, I woke up immediately. You've done a lot. Shura of Gojosian said with a smile. He was obviously in a good mood. Senior, you've been in this graceful spiritual bow the entire time? Qin Wushuang asked in disbelief. What do you think? Without my god power, do you think that the graceful spiritual bow would have such power? Haha, but now that I've woken up, the power of the graceful spiritual bow has increased. The power of the graceful spiritual bow has increased greatly. Now that you can kill someone 2 levels higher, it's definitely not an issue for you. As long as you cultivate to the 6th tribulation of the heavenly supreme Tao, even dealing with king gods would be no issue. Haha, with your Majesty's protection, how can that king god withstand a pinch of yours? The Sound Demon found an opportunity to flatter. Cut the crap. I'll leave those 2 fools to you guys. Understood. Ding Yundu and the Thunder Master God carefully traversed through the endless forest of stone pillars in the Pantheon Mystic Palace, as though they were lost. Brother Yundu, this is a little strange. That's right. You think so too? This place is eerie. It feels as though these sculptures are inanimate objects, yet they seem to have a life of their own. Could this be a strong seal? Don't bother about them. Seals are good anyway. As long as they don't attack, there's nothing to be afraid of. The moment he said that they did not attack, the sculptures on the surrounding pillars floated up and rushed over, grabbing at them like octopuses. Damned beast, you're courting death. Ding Yundu waved his hand and swept that demonic god away. His godly spirit dissipated and disappeared immediately. The face of the Thunder Master God suddenly changed. Brother Yundu, you seem to have gotten yourself into trouble. All of a sudden, the sculptures on the surrounding pillars seemed to have floated up. All of them were getting restless on the surface. Roar. It was as though a mountain torrent had erupted. All of a sudden, shrill cries rang out from all directions as demonic gods flew out from the pillars and pressed over like a swarm of locusts. Not good. Brother Yundu, let's join forces and break out. The Thunder Master God realized that something was amiss right away. Ding Yundu was a smart man as well. Once he realized that the situation was bad, he stood side by side with the Thunder Master God and rushed out to kill their way out. Kill! But who would have thought that the louder they yelled, the more they suffered? The louder their voices were, the more demons woke up. The entire place was filled with the howls of demons as rows of malevolent faces and pairs of demonic hands seemed as though they were about to rip the two of them into shreds at any moment. Brother Thunder, if we rush out, we'll be in big trouble. Ding Yundu was a little flustered. Hee, can you rush out? Ha! Stay behind then. My boss wants your physical bodies. Ha! From all directions, the voices of the 9 demonic gods boomed out like ghosts, sending shivers down one's spine. Even though both of them were Master God-level powerful beings, they were still stunned by the undulating laughter. 1 Master God, 2 Master Gods, there were so many Master Gods. All of a sudden, 7 to 8 Master God spirits appeared. Even though those Master God spirits did not seem too stable, in this place that was filled with demonic flames, even if they were unstable Master God spirits, they were still able to make use of the geographical advantage to give off an unusually strong aura. Children, let's rush over and surround them. A stream of flames struck out from above like a gigantic bat dancing in the air, covering the entire void. The demonic flames grabbed out, and immediately, 2 long streams of flames the size of arms grabbed out at the 2 Master Gods. Scram! Ding Yundu was enraged as he threw out a punch. Like a breeze that could turn, the demonic flames evaded Ding Yundu's astral wind and circled around like water ripples. To think that they would grab onto Ding Yundu's neck. 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds. To think that they would be circling around endlessly. This horrifying scene had the Thunder Master God so scared that his soul was about to leave his body. He could not be bothered about Ding Yundu's life and death as he bolted out. Ha! What's the hurry? Are you going to leave him to die? The sound demon suddenly gave him a sinister look. That voice was really weird, and sounded as though it was coming from the Thunder Master God's beloved mother. The Thunder Master God's heart froze up as everything before him turned blurry and chaotic. In a daze, it was as though a voice had walked out as the Thunder Master God exclaimed, "Mother? Humph, humph, humph." The Thunder Master God was stunned as a thought of despair flashed through his mind. Ah! 2 of you! Make a pair. The 2 long arms of flames wrapped around the 2 Master Gods, and it didn't take long for the 2 of them to be completely enveloped within. The power of flames continued to churn as though they were being refined into pills, causing the 2 of them to howl in pain. The binding power of the flames was extremely strong, locking down their Niwen palaces so tightly that even their souls could not escape. I've met with a small bottleneck for the past 2 days, so I've been reading books madly to replenish my blood. Hence, I've been neglecting my work. However, the ideas for my new book are gushing out like a fountain, and my Milky Way inspiration is constipated. But, everyone, don't worry. Old Bull will definitely have 6,000 words a day. Occasionally, there will be 3 chapters or even more that will explode out. It's extremely difficult to wrap things up. Please understand, everyone. There are too many clues, and it's not easy to tie them all together. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please visit www.chidian.com. There are even more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 966. This flame of the sound demon was the Guanghan Yin spirit fire. Once it was refined, it was doubly venomous. Even with the mystic skills of the 2 Master Gods, their spirits were being refined and dissipated bit by bit under such a formidable attack. After a long time, the sound demon's spirit dashed out and delved into the physical body of the Thunder Master God. Possession. In terms of physical body, the Thunder Master God's physical body was even more ideal than Ding Yundu's. As for Ding Yundu's physical body, it was naturally given to the second Demon Lord. The second Demon Lord was a powerful being of the Master God level as well. It wasn't too much for him to take over Ding Yundu's physical body. When Qin Wushuang caught sight of this, his eyes were filled with disbelief. On the other hand, the Shura of Gojoseon was extremely calm as he beamed. "Lad, are you feeling too surprised?" Indeed, it was quite surprising. Qin Wushuang was being hunted down by these two master gods. He had thought that he would be in big trouble today with a slim chance of survival. To think that things would take such a dramatic turn. "Great King." The Sound Demon walked over gleefully and paid his respects. "Yes, not bad. Congratulations on breaking out of your cage," the Shura of Gojoseon said indifferently. "Hee, it's all thanks to you, Great King. If you hadn't lured those two here, how could we have seen the light of day once more?" "Alright, I'll give you 7 days. Is that enough? To fuse with this physical body and reach its peak state, I'll need at least 100 years. However, there shouldn't be any issues with the initial fusing. Within 7 days, the Sound Demon will escort the Little Master out." "Yes, 7 days it is then. Sound Demon, I'm going to recuperate now. You'll listen to the commands of the Little Master, got it? If you disobey, you should know the consequences." "Don't worry, Great King. We'll definitely assist the Little Master with peace of mind." The Sound Demon swore with sincerity. "If I were to go against it, I, the Sound Demon, am willing to die 100 times over." Alright. The divine power in the Pantheon Mystic Palace could be said to be extremely dense. Qin Wushuang cultivated here and felt that the mysteries of the heavens were unfathomable. He could vaguely sense a trace of the mysteries of the heavens, and actually attracted the second calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage in one go. In these 7 days, Qin Wushuang's harvest was also quite rich. This time, he was able to summon a 4th tribulation heavenly god. Of the 12 Empyrean god puppets, 3 were at the 4th tribulation Empyrean god Tao stage. Qin Wushuang executed a move to summon the 3 Heaven Supreme Tao puppets. The 2 Second Tribulation Heavenly Supreme Tao stage experts and 2 Third Tribulation Heavenly Supreme Tao stage experts he had summoned earlier had gone with Tai Hong and his group. With those few celestial god puppets, Qin Wushuang didn't have to worry about anything happening in that group of people. Whether it was the sky god puppet, Lin Jingfeng, or Blackwing, these 2 divine venomous puppets, they were all able to suppress the situation. 7 days passed quickly. The Sound Demon and Second Demon Venerable Tuwang had already completed the initial integration. "Young Master, the Sound Demon pays his respects. May I ask if we should leave this place first, or continue to cultivate here?" Qin Wushuang pondered for a moment and said, "This place is very rich in divine power and is a good place to cultivate. However, the situation outside is complicated and there are many crystals in the area of the Grand Canyon. We can't let those guys from the Fengyan continent and Tianxiang continent take advantage of them. The 2 of you take my 3 subordinates and confiscate all the crystals." The crystals Qin Wushuang was referring to were the crystals mines along the road in the periphery of the Grand Canyon. Now that various forces had rushed in together, the crystals mined would definitely be astonishing. Although the best crystals had already been obtained by them, in consideration of their future development, a large number of crystals was very necessary. Therefore, Qin Wushuang decided to take all the crystals for himself. A pleasant smile appeared on the Sound Demon's face as he asked, "Young Master, do you mean that there are many people mining crystal ores outside?" "That's right." The Sound Demon's smile turned even more sinister as he sniggered. Exchanging glances with the Second Demon Venerable, their eyes were filled with joy. "That's great. What do you mean?" The Sound Demon grinned. "Young Master, take a look at this Pantheon Mystic Palace. There are hundreds of thousands of brothers locked up here. Since there are so many people outside, we can lure all of them over and use them as mediums for our brothers to rest in. Ha ha! With that, there will be many more brothers who can regain their freedom. Without a physical body, there was no way one's soul could fly out of this Pantheon mystic palace. Along the way in the Grand Canyon, be it the forces of the Fengyun continent or Tianxiang continent, they could no longer be bothered to fight one another. The crystal mines all over the ground had them in a frenzy as though they were possessed. Right at this moment, 2 streaks of light descended from the skies. The figures of Ding Yundu and the Thunder Master God landed in front of their respective camp. Lord Thunder! Upon seeing the Thunder Master God, Naboxen went up to him immediately. Naboxen, stop everyone and gather everyone. I'll give you 15 minutes to complete the gathering. Understood? Sir, gather? Yes, gather. Hurry up and do it. Sir, are we leaving after gathering? Naboxen could not help but ask. With so many crystal stones, it would be too much of a pity to leave now. Naboxen was absolutely unwilling to do so. The crystal stones in this Grand Canyon were no different from mountains of gold and silver. This was way beyond their imaginations. If they were to transport this wealth back, it would probably be comparable to the wealth of the entire Fengyun continent, right? This black magpie star was truly a huge treasure trove. That's right. Leave immediately. The Thunder Master God was authoritative. But, sir, there are so many crystal stones here. Are we really going to abandon them just like that? The Thunder Master God scoffed coldly. Even though there are many crystal stones here, they are all middle grade. There are almost no supreme grade ones. We've discovered a place where there are even more upper grade crystals here than middle grade ones. Do you think it's better to mine them here or move them elsewhere? Naboxen was completely stunned. Upper grade crystals? Even more than middle grade crystals here? Sir, this. Hurry up and gather. Don't let the Tianxiang continent take the lead. I've made an agreement with Ding Yundu that we're not allowed to kill each other. We'll dig with our own abilities. Don't embarrass me. Naboxen was overjoyed. Yes, sir. The same thing was happening over at the Tianxiang continent as well. Under Ding Yundu's anxiousness, the thousands of people gathered really quickly as well. As for the colossal beast race, they were so intimidated that they did not dare to make a single move. Thankfully, Qin Wushuang had long instructed that they were not to lay their hands on the colossal beast race. The Sound Demon and Second Demon, Lord Tuweng, did not drag the colossal beast race into this as well. Even though there was a space gate, for those who were familiar with the route, it was naturally not much of a problem. Before long, the Sound Demon led this troop of 3,000 people and arrived before the Rainbow Bridge in a majestic manner. At the sight of this majestic sight, all the powerful beings of the divine Tao could not help but click their tongues in amazement. In their opinion, for a place like this that was like a paradise, it would only be reliable if there were piles of upper-grade crystals. As for the disaster, it happened right after they entered. In particular, the other 7 of the 9 demon lords were guarding the entrance of the cave. When they saw the 5th or 6th tribulation heavenly gods, they pounced on them without hesitation. As for the other high-level heavenly Tao divine souls, they were also greedily selecting their own prey. The troop of 3,000 people entering the Pantheon mystifying palace was like a stone sinking into the sea. They did not stir up much of a splash at all. Only a series of tragic cries could be heard. Divine souls were constantly being devoured, and physical bodies were also being seized by these primordial demon gods. Qin Wushuang turned a blind eye to all this as it happened before his eyes. Whether it was the Tianxiang continent or the Fengyun continent, he would not have any mercy. Great Illusory Sun Divine Palace's powerful being, Ri Dongshan, who was originally insufferably arrogant with Qin Wushuang, was also directly devoured by a high-level heavenly god divine soul and had his physical body snatched away. Not a single one of the 3,000 or so experts was left. A month later, All the powerful beings who had snatched their physical bodies had already completed the initial integration and were on standby. Young Master, everyone is here. There's a total of 2,836 people. Good. Sound Demon, I'll need you to make a trip personally. These two factions have bases on the Black Magpie planet. Take some experts with you and destroy their bases. Take all the valuables inside, as well as the Overgod's flying ship. Yes. The Sound Demon discovered that this young master was very much to his liking. Snatching things, haha, the Sound Demon liked to do this kind of thing the most. Immediately, he picked a few dozen high-level heavenly god. An elite and valiant team split into two majestic groups and charged toward the two major bases. The Sound Demon and Tu Weng each led a team. With this kind of strength, dealing with the low-level guards in the bases was as easy as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. In less than 2 hours, the bases were completely destroyed. All the valuables, crystals, and flying ships were looted clean. The local forces of the Black Magpie planet were completely unaffected. Naturally, this was also an order given by Qin Wushuang. He naturally had a long-term plan for not attacking the local forces of the Black Magpie planet. The Black Magpie planet's geographical location was very prominent. If he could take it for himself, it would definitely be a very ideal base for his rear. Young Master, all the crystals have been accounted for. Haha, you're as rich as a country. Young Master, I believe that the ordinary plain masters can't compare with your wealth. Your wealth is comparable to that of a heavenly venerable. Qin Wushuang smiled faintly but didn't say anything. A heavenly venerable? Did a heavenly venerable have so many top-grade crystals? Of course, Qin Wushuang wouldn't say this out loud. He had made a fortune in silence. The result of this trip to the Pantheon Mystic Palace was indeed beyond Qin Wushuang's expectations. It was surprisingly smooth, and the situation had taken a 180-degree turn. In just 1 or 2 months, the entire situation had been completely under his control. This was a world of difference compared to 2 months ago when he had to act cautiously in secret. Young Master, we found a teleportation array in the base of the Fengyun continent. However, that array must be used to teleport to the Fengyun continent's plane. I think it's best not to use it. However, these Master God flying ships can be used. Although they're ordinary, they can still be used. The Sound Demon said with a smile. With his strength as a heavenly venerable, although he hadn't recovered to his peak state, it wasn't much of a problem for him to soar through the galaxy. However, these subordinates needed a teleportation array or a flying ship to leave. Qin Wushuang nodded. The Black Magpie planet is the place where the incident happened. It's not good to stay for long. I think that after these people go missing, the masters of both sides will be alarmed. We have to leave this place. Master Gods, what are you afraid of? The Sound Demon said lazily. Young Master, when I recover to my peak strength, I'll kill a Master God with a single hand. Peak strength would take at least 100 years. At most, 300 years. Qin Wushuang knew that for now, the Sound Demon was at most similar to an ordinary Master God. Previously, he was able to plot against the Thunder Master God and Ding Yundu because they were at the Pantheon Mystic Palace's home ground. With tens of thousands of godly souls restraining them, the sneak attack was so successful. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 967. With the Sound Demon's current strength, there was an 80% chance that he wouldn't be able to fend off the most powerful overgods of the Fengyun continent. However, a prideful expert like the Sound Demon wouldn't admit this. Sound Demon, you're very strong. However, we don't have to fight them head-on now. If the Fengyun continent and Celestial Phenomenon continent form an alliance, it won't be good for us. Therefore, the most important thing for us now is to buy time and help everyone recover their strength. That's the right way to go. The sound demon pondered for a moment and nodded. Young master is right. We'll settle the score with them after we recover our strength. Yes, everyone. I heard that one of the 3 stairways leads to some treasure vault. Some of my companions have already gone in. Let's go and see if there's really a treasure vault. The sound demon sighed. If we leave just like this, I can't bear to leave the hundreds of thousands of brothers in the Pantheon Disorientation Palace behind. Sound demon, since you can't take them away, you can only go first. When you're strong enough to refine the Pantheon Disorientation Palace, you'll be able to save them from their suffering. Young master is right. Staying here won't do us any good. Although there were 3,000 of them, before they recovered their strength, if the Celestial Phenomenon Continent and the Phonian Continent attacked together, they wouldn't be able to withstand it. The long stairway made for a spectacular sight as the 3,000 of them walked up it. When the last person approached the stairway, the space suddenly closed again. After entering this space, Qin Wushuang contacted Tai Hong and the others through telepathy. To his surprise, he was able to contact them immediately. This was a pleasant surprise. Tai Hong and the others were still there. Captain, we're all fine. There really is a treasure vault here. However, our strength is limited and we can't go in. Qin Wushuang said, Wait there. Don't act rashly. We'll be there soon. Although this path led to the treasure vault, it was very rugged. However, with the sound demon leading the way, this level of rugged terrain was no problem. If even Tai Hong and the others could pass through safely, what more them? About 2 hours later, they followed Tai Hong's aura and headed in the direction of the observant finger jade compass. They successfully met up. When Tai Hong saw that Qin Wushuang had brought the Thunder Master God and Ding Yundu with him, they were all dumbfounded and their faces pale. Captain, They thought that their captain was being controlled by Ding Yundu and the others. They were here. Qin Wushuang laughed. Don't worry, these are not the original goods. Sound Demon, Tu Wang, and the others to let them experience it. The 2 men laughed and said, Young master, are these your subordinates? They bees is, s to lin, estes to, sssssts, s's be a once twos be a family s. How long of them to it, s to we'll be a family in the future, so there's no need to differentiate between us. Haha, not at all. I'd like to take in a few disciples to inherit my legacy as the sound demon. Young master, you don't have any objections, do you? Qin Wushuang chuckled. Of course not. The more you take in, the better. It'd be a waste not to take in disciples for a heavenly venerable like you. The sound demon grinned. Haha, I like the sound of that, young master. Qin Wushuang chuckled at Tai Hong and the others' dumbfounded looks. Don't be in a daze. The sound demon, you can call him Lord Sound Demon. He's a heavenly venerable, a top-notch expert sealed in the Pantheon Mystic Palace. Now that he's free, he's under my command. These 8 are all Master God-level experts. Together with the Sound Demon, they're known as the 9 Great Demon Gods. It's just that they've seized their physical bodies and their realms aren't stable yet. That's why they're only at 40% to 50% of their strength. Haha, young master, there's no need to hide it from us. Just say it's 20 to 30%. Since we're not outsiders, we don't have to care about face in front of our own people. The sound demon chuckled. Even though he was chuckling, a ferocious expert like him still gave off an extremely oppressive aura, causing one to feel a sense of reverence for him uncontrollably. Tai Hong and the others greeted respectfully, Lord Sound Demon, Lord Master Gods, we juniors pay our respects. Heavenly Venerable and Master God-level experts. 9 of them. This was truly a huge blow to their nerve. This was especially the case for Xiao Jiang, who was completely dumbfounded. On the one hand, they were shocked at the strength of the Sound Demon and the others. On the other hand, they were even more shocked at how many more secrets this mysterious leader of theirs was hiding. Why were even heavenly venerable level experts obeying his commands? They had witnessed with their own eyes just how insufferably arrogant and mighty Ding Yundu and the Thunder Master God were. But now, their god souls had been refined and their physical bodies had been snatched away. That shock reverberated in their hearts for a long time, unable to calm down. This shock was simply way too intense, and had completely overturned their common sense. Lin Jingfeng was rather straightforward as well as he walked over. Junior Lin Jingfeng pays his respects to the various powerful beings. The sound demon glanced at Lin Jingfeng, somewhat surprised. This lad seems to have some pretty decent potential. Young master, would you be willing to be my disciple? Sound demon, it's his fortune that you're willing to take him in as your disciple. But, there's one thing, Lin Jingfeng is the last disciple of the number 1 master god of the Windcloud continent. His god soul has been controlled by my divine venomous puppet and has submitted to me. Sound demon, if you take him in as your disciple, you might cause the Wind Master God to strike you down in the future. The sound demon pursed his lips. He's just a mere master god. Give me 200 years to recover, and I'll kill my way over to the Windcloud continent. So what if I annihilate them? To annihilate an entire plane just to take in a single disciple. Only a super overlord as ferocious as the sound demon would be able to do something like that. In their eyes, these things were only natural. It was just like how they had been sealed in the Pantheon Mystic Palace by an even stronger expert. Although they were furious, they did not feel much hatred towards the holy Emperor Qiyang who had sealed them. Their skills were inferior, and they had fallen into his hands. There was nothing to be said. These ancient monsters were all very tactful and knew when to advance and retreat. You couldn't beat him in a fight, so hatred alone was useless. They could only use one strategy, which was to do what they were supposed to do. But, even if they couldn't beat him, they could still hide. At most, they would just hide far away in the future. Qin Wushuang smiled. Jingfeng, if you're willing, you can take the sound demon as your master. But you must remember, once you take the sound demon as your master, you must respect him as your master for life. You must take on the responsibility of inheriting his orthodoxy. If you go against it, I won't let you off easily. Your ties with the Windcloud continent must also be severed. Do you understand? Lin Jingfeng nodded. I'm willing to sever all ties with the Windcloud continent. Besides, when the Wind Master God took me in as his disciple, he killed all my relatives right from the start and severed my ties with the secular world. He and I are only master and disciple, and we don't have any feelings of master and disciple. To put it bluntly, I'm just a chess piece that he manipulates to inherit his orthodoxy. The sound demon smiled. In that case, that Wind Master God is quite a ruthless character. To kill all your family members right away, what courage and means. Since he's already killed them, I don't have to do it myself. Haha, no ties with the secular world, that's great. Lin Jingfeng, you're really more suited to inherit my orthodoxy. Qin Wushuang waved his hand. Alright, let's not rush into these ceremonies first. Tai Hong, tell us what's going on with this treasure trove. Captain, with this restriction here, we can't enter at all. This pagoda is the treasure trove. We've already swept through 6 levels, but these 6 levels are all outer treasure trove. The real core level is on the 7th level. We can't open it at all. We can't activate the teleportation formation either. Qin Wushuang looked at the restriction before him and turned to ask the sound demon. Sound demon, do you have the confidence to open it? The sound demon had high standards. After looking at it for a moment, he shook his head. Even if I'm at my peak, I can't open it. This is the work of the holy Emperor Qiyang. If I'm not wrong, it's the Qiyang Golden Body Pagoda from the Pantheon Mystic Palace. These are the 2 greatest treasures of the holy Emperor Qiyang. The Holy Emperor Qi Yang. In the entire Great Luo universe, the Holy Emperor Qi Yang was a top-notch existence. Even a prodigy like Li Xianfeng back in the day would not dare to claim that he had surpassed the Holy Emperor Qi Yang. Without a doubt, the Scarlet Sun Saint Emperor was the strongest existence amongst Saint Emperors below the exalted Golden Immortal Realm. In the entire Great Luo universe, there were no more than 20 people who were on par with him. In the entire Great Luo universe, countless small universes, countless star regions and countless planes, there were countless powerhouses who were on par with the Holy Emperor. To be able to obtain the title of the strongest among the Holy Emperors was not an exaggeration. No, 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 you have to use the teleportation formation to enter the core level. If you want to break the seal, haha, you have to be stronger than the Holy Emperor Qi Yang. The Sound Demon shook his head helplessly and smiled bitterly. Young master, the Yang Qi of that old man Qiang's treasure is too strong. If I stay any longer, I'll have to refine it. I'll wait outside. As he spoke, he shook his head and walked out. His face was full of awe, as if he did not dare to ask for advice. Once bitten, 3 years shy of rope. By the way, young master, the 5 elements qi in your body is very positive. Not only is it masculine, but it's also feminine. You might be a fated person. However, you have to find the teleportation formation and activate it to enter. Otherwise, don't be greedy and lose your life in vain. This was not an exaggeration. Qin Wushuang knew the strength of the Holy Emperor. His master Li Xuanfeng's 7 deadly arrays formation was already very impressive. As for this Qiyang Golden Body Pagoda, since it was the Holy Emperor Qiyang's treasure, who would believe that it was not mysterious at all? Captain, you're blessed. You still have to do it. Little Jiang sighed. Captain, there are also many treasures in the periphery. We haven't divided them, so we're waiting for you to distribute them. Tai Hong reported. Everyone, I don't want to lie to you. My current name is not Wu Xinghe, but Qin Wushuang. I'm from the Tianxian continent. Like the Black Magpie Star, the Tianxian continent is also targeted by the Fengyun continent. I escaped through the ancient formation to cultivate just to resist the invasion of the Fengyun continent. Everyone, if you're willing to share weal and woe with me, you'll all be rewarded if I succeed in the future. Everyone was stunned, then they expressed their stance. Captain, no matter what your name is, we've already decided to follow your lead. We'll listen to you. Yes, it's our blessing to follow a captain like you. Captain, you left us a way out and lured the 2 master gods away. We're all very touched and swore to follow you to death. Even the Lion King walked over. Lord Xinghe, no, I should call you Lord Wushuang. Our giant beast clan is also deeply touched and is willing to follow your orders. We'll fight against the Fengyun continent together. Qin Wushuang's eyes revealed murderous intent. The Fengyun continent's good times won't last long. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 968. Sure enough, it's the work of the Holy Emperor. Qin Wushuang wandered around every corner of the 6th floor. If Qin Wushuang hadn't experienced the mysteries of Li Xuanfeng's formations, he probably wouldn't have been able to find any clues. Although the work of the Holy Emperor was completely different from that of Li Xianfeng. But as masters of the Holy Emperor's level, there were some things that were still relatively similar. It's probably here, Qin Wushuang muttered to himself, slightly urging his divine Tao power and began to try. In the void, there seemed to be a wall of air blocking in front of him. Qin Wushuang added a little more strength, and the wall of air faintly fluctuated, like a small stone thrown into a calm lake, causing waves of ripples. There's hope. Qin Wushuang was delighted. He controlled the fire very well, increasing his strength little by little. Qin Wushuang's divine Tao power was the inheritance of Li Xuanfeng's genius bloodline, and the five elements' spirit essence were activated together. Once the five elements formed a cycle, it was like a whirlpool. In this space, a deep whirlpool was constantly being formed. The entire void, like the surface of a lake, was stirred up into a huge vortex, and a sparkling spatial door suddenly appeared. Around this vortex there was a golden light. Qin Wushuang was overjoyed and rushed in like a rainbow. The purple light flashed in and disappeared into the void of the 6th floor. The onlookers were all dumbfounded. Qiyang Golden Body Pagoda, the 7th floor. It was the core area of this pagoda, and it suddenly appeared in front of Qin Wushuang. The vast space was filled with waves of golden light. It was as if one was in a sea of golden clouds. It was both real and illusory. The golden fog was constantly forming various transcendence golden bodies. It was awe-inspiring and gave people a feeling of majesty. In the core area of the 7th floor, on one of the high platforms, there was a long pillar erected high up. It was like a huge pillar that supported the heavens, towering and straight. Around the pillar was a huge pool. A large stone tablet was erected next to the pool, Scattered Treasures Pool. Qin Wushuang went in to take a look. The Scattered Treasures Pool was so dazzling that he couldn't even open his eyes. Countless weapons and armors were displayed on the ceiling, each of them exuding a unique charm. Each of these treasures was wrapped in a golden light, as if they were covered by a box. Nature Energy? Qin Wushuang looked at the 4 words written on that gigantic pillar that held up the sky. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang was somewhat surprised. Although those treasures were very dazzling, Qin Wushuang had already inherited a lot of treasures from Li Xianfeng. Therefore, he wasn't that desperate for these treasures. Instead, it was this huge pillar that gave Qin Wushuang a very shocking feeling. There was a line of words written on the huge pillar. Nature Energy, fated people, bow to Nature Energy. In Qin Wushuang's heart, a feeling of reverence and worship surged. Like a ball of fire that could ignite his hot blood, the righteous qi of heaven and earth made Qin Wushuang feel a wave of worship surging from his chest. He respectfully bowed 3 times before standing up. At this moment, a strange thing happened. It seemed that when Qin Wushuang bowed 3 times, the huge pillar actually shook. The size of the huge pillar suddenly shrank rapidly in the golden light, and continued to shrink. At this moment, an old voice reminded, "Those who bow to the Nature Energy can inherit my Qiyang Golden Body Pagoda and the Pantheon Maze Palace." Qin Wushuang's heart trembled. The voice continued, "The core of Qiyang Golden Body Pagoda is here, the pillar that holds up the sky. It can shrink at will. If it is big, it can crush mountains and rivers. If it is small, it can transform into a mustard seed. In the Scattered Treasures Pool, there is 1 Holy Emperor's flying boat, 10 Heavenly Venerables flying boats, 100 Lordships flying boats, 1,000 ordinary flying boats, 3,000 secret manuals, 100 battle armors, 500 divine weapons, 5 million talismans, and 50 million crystal stones. This is what I have collected over millions of years. Inheriting the Qiyang Golden Body Pagoda, there is the incantation to refine the Pantheon Maze Palace. Those who grasp the Qiyang Golden Body Pagoda and the Pantheon Maze Palace can go to my Qiyang Cosmos and inherit my Holy Emperor's supreme orthodoxy." Inheriting the orthodoxy? This harvest was not just for show. The Holy Emperor of Qiyang Cosmos was one of the few experts in the entire Daluo Cosmos. His orthodoxy was definitely much larger than his master, Li Xianfeng, who was a rising star of the younger generation. His master, Li Xianfeng, was a rising star of the younger generation. Before he could establish his own foundation and orthodoxy, he died. As for the Holy Emperor of Qiyang Cosmos, he was an expert of the older generation who had matured for millions of years. His orthodoxy and foundation would definitely make others jealous. Qin Wushuang did not have time to think too much. He quickly left the 7th core layer and arrived at the 6th layer. He called out to everyone, "Everyone, quickly leave the pagoda. I am going to refine this Qiyang golden body pagoda." When the crowd heard this, although they were confused for a moment, they still flocked out. Qin Wushuang followed the incantation and began to refine the Qiyang golden body pagoda. The golden light continued to compress and compress. The Qiyang golden body pagoda continued to shrink. Finally, it fell into Qin Wushuang's palm and became the size of a palm. Even the sound demon and the others came over. "Young master, congratulations! Old man Qiang's Qiyang golden body pagoda has been refined by you. Haha, great demon lord, could it be that old man Qiyang is already dead?" Qin Wushuang waved his hand. "Everyone, Senior Qiyang is full of righteousness. Even if you have a grudge against him, it has been hundreds of thousands of years. There is no need to speak ill of him." Yes, young master. We don't hate old man Qiyang. We are just a little afraid of him. Since he has passed away, let's not talk about him anymore." Qin Wushuang nodded silently. He tossed the Qiyang golden body pagoda in his hand and drew out the scattered treasures pool. The entire scattered treasures pool immediately appeared in front of everyone. "Everyone, take a look and see if there are any divine artifacts that you have used in the past. If there are, take them all back." Back then, the great demon lord was subdued by the holy Emperor Qiyang. Naturally, his weapons and equipment would be confiscated as well. Just as Qin Wushuang expected. Although hundreds of thousands of years had passed, they were very familiar with the things that they had used, just like the limbs and organs in their bodies. Everyone quickly found their own equipment and weapons. The sound demon laughed. "That's great. With this equipment and the heavenly venerable artifact, it will be relatively easier to merge with this body. Everyone, this is over. Let's go out and go to the Pantheon Maze Palace. I seem to have mastered the method to refine the Pantheon Maze Palace." "Young master, are you serious?" The eyes of the sound demon and the others lit up. "It's true. Let's go and take a look." After refining the Qiyang golden body pagoda, Qin Wushuang had gained control of one of the Holy Emperor's most precious treasures. The harvest had greatly exceeded his expectations. The difficulty of refining the Pantheon Maze Palace was not that high. Obviously, the Holy Emperor Qiyang had arranged all of this long ago. Everything was solved as soon as he chanted the incantation. It was just that the hundreds of thousands of souls inside did not have enough bodies to rest in and could not escape for the time being. However, after refining the Pantheon Maze Palace and taking it away, it would not be coveted by others here. After refining the Pantheon Maze Palace, Qin Wushuang was in a good mood. He called out to everyone and left the sky-reaching Grand Canyon. In the 9-beast palace of the giant beast clan, all the experts were waiting for orders. Qin Wushuang sat among them and said to the 7 great beast kings, "7 beast kings, we have destroyed the bases of the 2 major powerhouses. I believe that in 3 or 5 months, these 2 super powerhouses will send elite warriors to the border. Are you willing to leave with us?" The Lion King said seriously, "Master Wushuang, the giant beast clan is willing to be at your disposal. Everyone, we are leaving this place. Are you willing to follow me?" "We are willing to follow the young master," the sound demon said with a smile. "Young master, you are now the spokesperson of the Holy Emperor Qiyang. We dare not disobey you. What's more, you are the young master appointed by the Shura of Gojoseon. We should listen to your orders. We are willing to follow the young master until death." Qin Wushuang smiled. "Good, you are all very considerate. We will leave the Black Magpie Star in 3 days. Beast Kings, the Black Magpie Star cannot be defended. We must give up for now and plan slowly. I promise you that I will not let the Fengyun continent be proud for too long." The 7 Beast Kings had seen the strength of the Fengyun continent and knew that the Black Magpie Star was not strong enough to fight against them. Master Wushuang, we will follow you. We are willing to follow you. Yes, I will give you 3 days to choose the elites of the giant beast clan. I will give you 100,000 spots. Is that enough? 100,000? Everyone was stunned. Transporting 100,000 men and horses was no laughing matter. A Master God flying ship could transport about 1,000 people. They had seized one each from the Fengyun continent and the Celestial Phenomenon continent. Even if they squeezed, 3,000 people would be enough. How was it possible to transport 100,000 people? Young Master, a Master God flying ship can carry a maximum of 1,500 people. We can't carry more than that. Qin Wushuang asked with a smile, what about the Celestial Worthy flying ship? A Celestial Worthy flying ship can carry about 10,000 people. It is a very luxurious and imposing existence. The Sound Demon's tone was full of fascination. Back in the day, the Sound Demon's Celestial Worthy flying ship was famous both far and near. Haha, what a pity! What about the Holy Emperor flying ship? Qin Wushuang asked with a smile. The Holy Emperor flying ship? Heavenly Venerable Sound Demon sucked in a breath of cold air. Young Master, the Sacred Emperor flying ship itself is a great weapon of mass destruction. If a Sacred Emperor flying ship were to crash into an ordinary plane at full speed, even if the plane didn't collapse, it would still be in a terrible state. How many people can it hold? Haha, using the Holy Emperor flying ship to carry people is like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. However, the Holy Emperor flying ship should be a celestial ship to be precise. The term flying ship is not enough to describe the Holy Emperor's celestial domain ship. In terms of capacity, 100,000 is a piece of cake. Alright, then let's take the Holy Emperor flying ship and leave. Qin Wushuang's tone was full of enthusiasm. Suddenly, a feeling of returning home overflowed uncontrollably. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 969. The Scarlet Sun Saint Emperor's flying boat was indeed majestic. Of course, Qin Wushuang and the others would not bluff and attract unnecessary attention. Therefore, in the huge open space of the giant beast clan, the Holy Emperor's flying ship was fully activated. Its aura was so strong that even the experienced and knowledgeable the Sound Demon was full of praise. How generous, how generous! To have fallen into the hands of that old man Qi-Yang, we brothers really deserve it. Everyone, it's been a long time since the Thunder Sovereign and Ding Yunda died. If we want to leave, we have to be quick. It's not time for us to completely fall out with them yet. Qin Wushuang's tone was solemn. Therefore, let's retreat for the time being. Everyone, board the Holy Emperor's flying ship and leave together. Does anyone have any objections? The Sound Demon chuckled. What objections can there be if we can board the Holy Emperor's flying ship? Not everyone is qualified to board it. Second Demon Venerable Tu Wang also laughed. I didn't expect that after being imprisoned by that old man Qi-Yang for decades, we would have to enjoy his celestial ship in the end. Not bad, haha. Once these two absolute authorities spoke, the others naturally had nothing to say. Since these two had already set the tone, even if the others wanted to object, they had no grounds to say anything. The celestial ship took off and soared into the sky above the Black Magpie star. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared from the sky above the Black Magpie star. Traveling between star regions like this was very time-consuming. Even if you drifted for 10 or 100 years and found yourself in the vast universe, you would only have taken a small step forward. Fortunately, the Holy Emperor's flying ship was indeed very generous. Apart from a group of experts who were assigned to control the ship, the others were not willing to let go of the great cultivation environment in the Holy Emperor's flying ship. One must know that the celestial ship was the Holy Emperor's private territory. The spiritual energy here was 100 times more abundant than the outer area. Even heavenly venerate sound demon greedily seized a secret chamber and began to focus on cultivating. Qin Wushuang also focused and began to cultivate. Now that he had such a unique advantage, it would be a waste if he didn't make the best use of his time to cultivate. Qin Wushuang knew very well that the celestial ship was very rare. Cultivating here for a year was probably equivalent to cultivating outside for 100 years. Especially for an elite of the heavenly supreme Tao like him, cultivating in the private territory of the Holy Emperor was truly a privilege. In the direction of the Black Magpie Star, 3 sovereign flying vessels were advancing at high speed in a T-shaped formation. Judging from the direction they were flying, they should be heading towards the Black Magpie Star. At the front of the flying boat sat the core upper echelons of the Fengyun continent. With the 2 sovereigns of wind and cloud in the lead, 8 of their 10 emissaries had come. Of the remaining 2, 1 was Naboxon, who had already been possessed. The last one was left behind to guard the gates of the Fengyun continent. The other 8 emissaries were all high-level heavenly gods of the 6th tribulation of the heavenly supreme Tao realm. At this moment, all of them were present as well. The Wind Master God was a man with a thin face. However, at this moment, that handsome face of his was covered in a layer of frost as an uncontrollable killing intent was faintly discernible on his face. "Big brother, we'll reach the Black Magpie Star in half a month at most from here." At this moment, even the 8 emissaries did not dare to speak carelessly. The Cloud Master God was the only one who spoke to the Wind Master God carefully. "Yes, old two, you say something as well." The Wind Master God's tone was sinister. "Come and make a guess as to why everyone's consciousness has suddenly vanished. Big brother, you and I are both clear of old three's strength. Given the strength of the Black Magpie Star, nothing should have happened to it. There's no need for us to rush to conclusions now." Even though that was what the Cloud Master God said, he was feeling somewhat uneasy in his heart. If even the Thunder Master God had vanished without a trace, there was a high chance that this matter had blown out of proportion. "Old two, there's an extremely uneasy feeling in my heart right now. For the past hundreds of thousands of years, I've never felt such an intense feeling of unease. I'm worried that there's something going on here. What could it be?" The Cloud Master God could not help but ask, could it be that the celestial phenomenon continent is up to something? The strength that the celestial phenomenon continent has sent out is about the same as ours. Even if old three were to suffer a small loss, it wouldn't have been this tragic. "Big brother, could there be more hidden experts on that Black Magpie Star?" The Wind Master God sighed out and waved it off with his hand. "Neither you nor I are familiar with the Black Magpie Star. There's no need to make any unnecessary guesses. Forget it. I'll use my consciousness to make a deduction and try to sense their consciousness first. This place is already really close to the Black Magpie Star. Hopefully, I'll be able to sense everything." The Cloud Master God nodded his head and took a step back, watching the Wind Master God make his deductions. After about 15 minutes, the fingers of the Wind Master God came to a stop. His eyes shone with a sharp glint as his expression was complicated. "Huff." The Wind Master God opened his eyes. "Big brother, how is it?" The Cloud Master God went up and asked. "Extremely troublesome. The consciousness of old three and Nabo soon can't sense anything at all. There's no news of the other heavenly supreme Tao powerful beings either. Jingfeng, on the other hand, has a consciousness that's extremely healthy and active." When the Wind Master God said that, he let out a rare look of relief. This could be considered as a great fortune amidst all the misfortune. Does that mean that Jingfeng is still alive? As for the others, they might have already died? It's hard to say right now. The Wind Master God shook his head slowly. If they had entered a spirit formation world, an independent world, their consciousness would not be able to sense anything. If their consciousness was sealed, they would not be able to sense anything as well. Right now, we still can't deduce whether or not they are dead. The Cloud Master God nodded his head silently and murmured, "Let's hope that they are all fine. Losing their lives on the Black Magpie Star is truly not worth it." Just as the Wind Master God was about to reply, an envoy suddenly yelled out in shock, "Both of you Master Gods, hurry and look outside the window! Look outside the window!" Looking over, they saw a gigantic flying ship in the vast galaxy outside the window. It was flying in their direction from the opposite direction of them at a constant speed. The distance between them was not more than 3,000 miles. Given the eyesight of these heavenly gods, they would definitely be able to see a distance of 3,000 miles in the vast galaxy without any nebulas obstructing their vision. Big Brother! When the Cloud Master God caught sight of that gigantic flying ship, his face changed as well. Given his eyesight, how could he not tell that this flying ship was way bigger than their Master God flying ship? Not only that, the aura that it gave off was way stronger as well. A golden glow wrapped around that flying ship, making it seem as though it was a golden shooting star that was streaking through the sky. The Wind Master God was dumbfounded as well. Celestial exalted flying ship? It was no wonder that the Wind Master God would lose his composure like that. A flying ship of this grade was not something that he could create. In fact, it could even be said that he had never seen anything like this before. After all, they were too far apart to make out the details clearly. Celestial exalted flying ship? Big Brother, look at the direction that this flying ship is coming from. It's exactly the same as the direction that we are heading in. Their trajectories are completely parallel. The face of the Wind Master God was extremely terrible right now. Could they have truly come from the Black Magpie Star? Celestial exalted flying ship. Could the disappearance of Old Third and the others have something to do with this flying ship? Big Brother, what should we do? Lord Master God, how about we intercept them? The group of envoys stood up. With two Master Gods around, they were pretty gutsy. Intercept them? The Wind Master God snorted out coldly. Are you guys courting death? The faces of the 8 envoys changed. Courting death? The Cloud Master God chuckled out bitterly and waved his hand, indicating for the 8 envoys to sit down. The might of that flying ship is extremely formidable. If it were to turn around and charge at us at full speed, it would definitely cause our flying ship to explode and disappear into the void. The Wind Master God continued coldly, "At that time, not only would we not be able to intercept them, they would intercept us instead." Those words of his had everyone's faces filled with shame. The Wind Master God focused his gaze on that flying ship that was brushing past his shoulders as his eyes let out a deep look. His expression was extremely grim as that thick feeling of uneasiness in his heart was getting stronger by the moment. Big Brother, why would a celestial exalted flying ship appear here? Other than our Great Chien Star Zone, there's only the Forgotten River Star Zone nearby. There's no way the celestial exalted powerful beings of those 2 star zones would come to such a godforsaken place, right? Furthermore, how in the world did that flying ship manage to enter? Could it be that the Guardians of the Star Zone did not notice anything at all? If any external forces were to enter the borders of a certain star zone, the Guardians of the Star Zone would definitely intercept them and investigate. Could that be the celestial exalted flying ship of the Forgotten River Star Zone? There's no need to guess. Second Brother, I'll hurry and send this information to the ruler of the Great Chien Star Zone. At the same time, within the Scarlet Sun heavenly ship, they had discovered the Master God flying ship that had brushed past them as well. As for Lin Jingfeng, he recognized it right away as well. The Sound Demon was all smiles as he asked, "Young Master, do you want to go and have a fight with them?" Qin Wushuang pondered for a moment. "How confident are we in winning?" The Sound Demon chuckled out awkwardly. "If it were a fight between powerful beings, given our current state of recovery, we wouldn't even have a 20% chance of winning. However, if we were to control the Holy Emperor's flying ship to ram into them, we would have a 60% chance of knocking them over. Would we be able to kill the Master God? This was what Qin Wushuang was most concerned about. The Sound Demon chuckled. If I were to recover 60% to 70% of my strength and control the celestial ship, I would definitely be able to knock them out of their wit. As for now, I'm not that confident. Qin Wushuang pondered for a moment. Then let them pass. That's right. Let them be smug for a few hundred years. Young master, it's just the Fengyun continent. Don't take it to heart. I, the Sound Demon, guarantee that you can leave this matter to me. Alright, let's leave first. Qin Wushuang was not blindly optimistic. Back then, his master, Li Xianfeng, had mentioned in the last segment of the Seven Deadly Arrays formation that the Fengyun continent could be so domineering because of its deep background. Their connections led directly to the heavenly venerables of the Great Qian Star Zone. They could even form a relationship with powerful beings like the Holy Emperor. Therefore, even with this group of powerful warriors like the Sound Demon, he could not let down his guard. Everything had to be done step by step. With this group of subordinates, when they returned to the Tianxian continent, they could at least start to clean up those undercover forces and those heavenly supreme Tao elite warriors that had escaped. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 970. With the Holy Emperor's flying ship, it would not be difficult to return to the Tianxian land. Although the journey was rather far, they would arrive in a few months. The problem was that the Tianxian land had the soaring of Galaxia boundary, and it would not be easy to land. If they were to break through the soaring of Galaxia boundary forcefully, with the power of the celestial ship, of course they could do it. However, in this case, the soaring of Galaxia boundary that Senior had spent so much effort to exchange with his life would be meaningless. Regardless, the soaring of Galaxia boundary still held strategic significance. Therefore, Qin Wushuang decided to use a roundabout method. He would circle around and go to the Celestial Phenomenon Land. Then, he would take a detour through the Celestial Phenomenon Land and return to the Tianxian land through the Transportation Formation. However, the Sound Demon laughed. Young master, now that the Wind and Cloud continent has turned out in full force, I think we can send a group of brothers to the Wind and Cloud continent with a Master God flying ship. We can wreak havoc and turn the world upside down, leaving a mess for them to clean up. The Sound Demon was a master who wished for the world to be in chaos. This suggestion was a plan to cut off the route. Qin Wushuang thought for a moment and nodded. All right, who is willing to go? Haha, young master, let me lead the team. I can bring 30 to 50 followers. All right, I will feel more assured if you are in charge of this matter. Young master, how about half a year? All right, we will meet at the Celestial Phenomenon Land in half a year. They split into two groups. The Sound Demon selected 48 Heavenly Supreme Tao elite warriors, all of whom were advanced heavenly gods. They rode the Master God flying ship and headed towards the Wind and Cloud continent. Qin Wushuang and the rest of the people stayed in the Scarlet Sun heavenly ship to continue training. The Scarlet Sun heavenly ship was a training environment that could rival 100 people. The rest of the people felt as if they had fallen into a honey jar. Every day there were people breaking through continuously. It was truly a joyous occasion. In this half a year, Qin Wushuang had also made continuous breakthroughs. When the heavenly ship arrived at a place not far from the Celestial Phenomenon Land, he successfully passed the fourth calamity and became a fourth calamity heavenly god elite warrior. His other equipment had also improved, especially his use of the celestial branch Kuei Wolf double swords, which had become more flexible. As for the graceful spiritual bow, after Shura of Gojoseon had awakened, its power had increased tremendously. It had continuously merged with Qin Wushuang, and now it had become an extremely powerful killing weapon. It could be said that Qin Wushuang's strength had improved by leaps and bounds over the past few years, and he was armed to the teeth with all kinds of equipment. Half a year was not a long time. Qin Wushuang had arrived at the celestial phenomenon continent first, but he didn't want to attract too much attention. At this time, the main force of the main shrine was most likely on their way back. According to his calculations, Qin Wushuang knew that the main force of the celestial temple would not be able to make it back in time within the next 3 months. Qin Wushuang didn't have any enmity with the main god palace, so Qin Wushuang naturally wouldn't harass the main god palace. As for the conflict between the great illusory Sun Divine Palace and Qin Wushuang, it was just Sun Dongshan's personal arrogance. Now that Sun Dongshan's divine soul had been destroyed, and his physical body was his subordinate, Qin Wushuang naturally wouldn't seek revenge for the smallest grievance. A few days after Qin Wushuang and the others arrived, the Sound Demon and the others rushed back. Seeing the sinister smile on the Sound Demon's face, Qin Wushuang knew that this matter must have been handled very neatly. "Young master, we have followed your instructions and destroyed all the first-rate cultivation places on the Fengyun continent. Haha, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the Fengyun continent is now in ruins." The Sound Demon smiled and said, "It's a pity that the main force of the Fengyun continent isn't here, and killing people isn't satisfying. It's not fun to kill some small fish and shrimps." Second Demon Venerable Tu Weng laughed and said, "When the main force of the Fengyun continent returns, they will have tears to cry." Haha, the great demon Venerable used a heavenly venerate god weapon to sever all the spirit roots of all the cultivation places and destroy all the spirit energy systems. Haha, if not for the young master's orders, I wouldn't have wanted to stay there and admire the expressions of those master gods. The Sound Demon laughed and said, "It's all thanks to this physical body of mine. Thunder Master God, haha, you have great charisma." The physical body that the Sound Demon had taken over was the physical body of the Thunder Master God. Going to the Fengyun continent as the Thunder Master God was naturally like a fish in water. All the details of the Fengyun continent were obtained by the Sound Demon. He found out that most of the main forces had gone to the Black Magpie Star, leaving the place empty. The Sound Demon was naturally even more unbridled and destroyed the Fengyun continent for a full 1 to 2 months. It was only until he couldn't find a single intact place that he left in satisfaction. Qin Wushuang listened to their vivid descriptions and was extremely fascinated by the situation. He laughed and said, "Next time when I kill my way to the Fengyun continent, I must not miss it." When he arrived before the transportation formation, Qin Wushuang activated it and transported batches of people. The speed was not slow. In about half a day, all 3,000 people had been transported. Inside the 7 Deadly Arrays formation, Bao Bao and the others were training in full swing. In this space, 1 day was equivalent to 30 days in the outside world. Therefore, with 30 times the time, it was equivalent to them training for almost 300 years in the outside world in less than 10 years. Naturally, their strength also rose along with the tide. Especially Bao Bao. He had already trained to the peak of the genuine Supreme Tao stage. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't soar to the Galaxia, most likely he would have reached the heavenly Supreme Tao stage. When he saw that Qin Wushuang had returned and brought back so many elite warriors, even Qin Xiaotian was dumbstruck. Qin Wushuang said with a smile, "Let me introduce you, the Sound Demon is an elite warrior at the heavenly venerate stage. Now, he has occupied the corporeal body of the Thunder Master God of the Fengyun continent. He will need 200 years of training to recover his peak strength. These 8 are the brothers of the Sound Demon. They are all elite warriors at the Master God stage. They will also need 200 or 300 years to recover. And this." Qin Wushuang introduced some of the important figures. When everyone heard that these were Qin Wushuang's fellow disciples or brothers, they did not lose their respect. Even the sound demon did not dare to put on airs. The atmosphere was rather good. All right, everyone, let's leave the 7 deadly arrays formation and return to the God-discarding door of the human countries. I am going to meet my 6 senior brothers. In these years, those escaped divine souls must have made them suffer a lot. I must go take a look. Qin Wushuang knew very well that many elite warriors were among the escaped divine souls. Although his senior brothers were all elite warriors at the heavenly supreme Tao stage, it would be difficult to say whether they could gain an advantage. Bao Bao was the first to agree. Boss, I've stayed here for so many years and I'm very bored. When are you leaving the Tian Xianlan next time? Take me with you. Qin Wushuang laughed. Bao Bao, the outside world is incredibly exciting. It would be a pity if you don't go and see it. Bao Bao said with depression, Yes, boss, I've always wanted to go and gain experience. Unfortunately, you are not here and no one will take me out of here. The sound demon said with a grin, You little monkey, your bloodline is extremely pure. In the future, your training limit will be high. You must go out for a walk. When the sound demon saw that Bao Bao held an extraordinary position, he did not dare to put on the airs of an elder. Bao Bao laughed. Great Sky Warrior, take me with you next time. With an elite warrior like you protecting me, I will be even more lawless. The sound demon roared with laughter. Sure, sure. The others were also concerned about the outside world. They had stayed in the 7 deadly arrays formation for 10 years and indeed wanted to go out and see. Through the transportation formation, they arrived at the mountain cave of the second loop of the Great Song Mountains in a short time. The sound demon smacked his tongue in wonder. This plane is clearly of a lower level. Why was this formation so intricate? Young master, why is this? Bao Bao laughed. Great Sky Warrior, you don't know about this, right? My boss's teacher is an elite warrior at the level of the Holy Emperor. Boss has inherited the legacy of the Holy Emperor. Think about it. The sound demon was dumbstruck. He looked at Qin Wushuang with an expression that could no longer be described as admiration. After a moment of astonishment, he gave a long sigh. Young master, you are truly blessed. In fact, you have 3 elite warriors at the level of the Holy Emperor supporting you. Your teacher is one, Shura of Gojoseon is another, and Old Man Qi Yang is another. It's really a great blessing. Bao Bao blinked his eyes and asked curiously, Boss, you have another fortuitous opportunity outside. Qin Wushuang gave a casual smile. Yes, I have. Oh heavens, how come such good things never happen to me? Boss, hurry up and tell me, what's the fun stuff? Bao Bao had the nature of a monkey and was incredibly impatient. He was about to ask. I will tell you slowly when I have time. Let's take a look at that God-discarding door. In these 10 years, the God-discarding door had indeed encountered many attacks. However, the heavenly mysterious 7 disciples were indeed exceptional as they protected this God-discarding door from being attacked. Only, when Li Bai and his group annihilated those divine souls that had escaped, they were powerless. Inside the rushing current valley at the end of the endless eastern sea, they could not break it. Once they attempted to attack the inside of the rushing current valley, the water waves inside the valley would form layers of defense. Like a water maze, Li Bai and his group would return empty-handed. After 10 years, not only did they not gain anything, that Qi Hengyu and Hua Xie were injured. In order to save these 2, Xiao Yishuan suffered severe injuries. If Li Bai was not powerful enough to hold down the last trace of his bottom line, most likely, before those divine souls had fully recovered, they would have charged at the God-discarding door. When Li Bai saw that Qin Wushuang had returned, he was also overjoyed at the unexpected turn of events. Qin Wushuang was rather honest. Besides bringing a few important figures, he stationed the 3,000 great army at the heavenly royal mansion and did not allow them to show themselves easily. He did not want to alert the enemy. It was absolutely safe inside the heavenly royal mansion. Senior brother, I see that you are frowning tightly. Are you having trouble annihilating those divine souls that escaped? Li Bai gave a long sigh. Wu Shuang, indeed the wind and cloudland is powerful. From our initial estimation, the enemy has a dozen heavenly supreme Tao stage warriors. The strongest among them is an advanced heavenly supreme Tao stage. I heard that when that advanced heavenly supreme Tao stage seized the corporeal body of the baby golden crow, he recovered quickly. Initially, we estimated it would take 200 or 300 years. Now it seems that 20 or 30 years is enough. The corporeal body of that golden crow must have the bloodline of the heavenly supreme Tao stage. It's extremely superior. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 971. After Qin Wushuang finished listening, he only nodded slightly. Currently, to him, those divine souls that escaped were no longer a major problem. Now, he was considering a deeper step. He was thinking about how to catch all those divine souls that escaped and all the spies that were hiding in the Tianxian land. To catch all of these devilish foreign tribe geniuses at once, it would certainly be difficult if he were to rely on digging. Now, with the Thunder Master God's corporeal body, it would be much easier. Not to mention Lin Jingfeng held an honorable position. Although he was a rising star, these people would not know him. However, being the direct disciple of the Wind Master God, Lin Jingfeng's commanding plate was certainly not for show. The Wind Master God was the undisputed #1 elite warrior of the Wind and Cloud Land. He was the object of worship for all foreign tribe warriors. Being the direct disciple of the Wind Master God, Lin Jingfeng was the most valued disciple. Once his identity was revealed, without a doubt, he would attract a large group of attentions. This kind of disciple was meant to be groomed as a successor. Qin Wushuang raised his head and glanced at Xiao Yishuan's pale complexion. He immediately asked, "Second senior brother, have you suffered internal injuries? I have some pills here. This heavenly honored revival pill is extremely helpful for divine soul internal injuries." Upon seeing Qin Wushuang take out a pill, Li Xianfeng and the others were somewhat surprised. "Senior brother, continue, is that advanced heavenly God at the 5th or 6th calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage?" "He is at the 5th calamity. If he is at the 6th calamity, we have no hope of winning. Even so, we must not let him completely refine the Golden Crow's corporeal body. Or else, when he recovers to his peak, it will not be easy to deal with him. Yes, Wushuang, we must think of a way to get rid of this advanced heavenly God. Or else, when he recovers completely, we will only be at his mercy." The 5th calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage was an advanced heavenly God. He was much more powerful than Li Bai at the 3rd calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao stage. Let him do whatever he wants? Qin Wushuang smiled lightly. That might not be the case. Senior brothers, don't be impatient. These friends beside me are all people with great divine skills. Even if that advanced heavenly God recovers to his peak, what about it? He doesn't have to be a sovereign. Bao Bao also laughed. Uncle in plain clothes, don't worry. Since my boss is back, I'll leave these matters to him. The Sound Demon, who was standing behind Qin Wushuang, smiled faintly. However, there was a strong sense of confidence in his smile. When he heard that Qin Wushuang was at the 5th tribulation of the divine realm, a hint of disdain flashed across his eyes. For the Sound Demon, no matter how weak he was, even if he didn't have a physical body, the 5th tribulation of the heavenly supreme Tao stage was nothing to him. If they wanted to challenge his divine soul, they had to be at least a chief god. In front of a heavenly venerable powerhouse's godly soul, anyone below lord level would definitely be reduced to ashes. A single powerful killing intent was enough to kill a group of high-level heavenly gods. Senior brother, the problem now is, how can we dig out all the foreign tribes hiding in the Tianxian land? My next step is to start from this angle. Li Bai was slightly surprised as he said with hesitation, Wu Shuang, what good ideas do you have? Qin Wushuang laughed. I have an excellent idea, it's 100% effective. Eldest senior brother, you guys have been tired all these years. Today, I plan to use this god discarding door as the boundary and build a giant palace here. It will be connected to the god discarding door. Palace? Yes, it's a palace. After I have refined it, I need to release it. This palace is extraordinary, it has abundant supreme Tao power. Building it here will make this place the core of the Tianxian land. Secondly, with the palace here, even if the foreign tribes want to invade, they will lose a layer of skin if they want to pass through this 10,000 god maze palace. In fact, Qin Wushuang's considerations were very thorough. To change the structure of the Tianxian land, he must end the ruling position of the 5 totem powerhouses. He would build a core area of the human countries and radiate in all directions. Senior brother, I have one more thing that I must hide inside the god discarding door. We can't reveal ourselves for the time being. Therefore, we need eldest senior brother to open the god discarding door here. Li Bai laughed. This is easy. When the god discarding door was opened, Qin Wushuang led everyone inside. He brought out the Qiyang Golden Body Pagoda and took out the celestial ship. Then, he placed it inside the god discarding maze. Qin Wushuang laughed. Senior brother, this celestial ship is the holy place for training in the world. Training inside here is 100 times better than training outside. Training for 1 year inside is equivalent to training for 100 years outside. If you can train for 10,000 years inside the Holy Emperor's flying boat, it would be equivalent to training for 1,000,000 years outside. Li Bai and the others turned pale with fright. Wu Shuang, this is the flying boat of an elite warrior at the Holy Emperor level? Did teacher leave it to you? This is not prepared by teacher. It was left by another elite warrior at the Holy Emperor level. Senior brother, you have been running for the Tianxian land for tens and thousands of years. It's time for you to train. For this Holy Emperor's flying boat, you can train inside. I promise that after 100 years, your appearance will change greatly. Wu Shuang, that spy from the foreign tribes, ha, senior brothers, I already have the method to kill them. Wu Shuang, I think those divine souls are incredibly powerful. Even if you can kill 1 or 2, it's easier said than done to find all of them. Don't worry, I have my ways. Bao Bao laughed. Uncle, my boss is no longer the boss of the past. Now, he is at the 4th calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage and can summon 12 great Heavenly Supreme Tao puppet. It's alright if it's the puppets, with this heavenly warrior here. For sure it's easy to capture a few clowns of the foreign tribes. Great heavenly warrior? Immediately, a trace of shrewd light shone from the eyes of Li Bai and the others. Vividly, their expressions also appeared to be on guard. Heavenly Venerable Enmo ignored him and just chuckled. If one were familiar with him, they would certainly find it strange. How come the sound demon, who was always ferocious, was acting this amiable? It was not because the sound demon had changed his personality, but because each of these people before him was the senior brothers of the young master. He would not dare to put on airs before them. When the Holy Emperor's flying boat opened, Qin Wushuang laughed. Everyone, enter this flying boat. Sound demon, come with me. Everyone else, train inside this flying boat. Deep inside the rushing current valley, inside the old nest of the golden crow, Enai Long's corporeal body kept merging with his divine soul at an astonishing speed. The superiority of the corporeal body from the baby golden crow was displayed at this moment. Just when Enai Long had reached a crucial moment in his training, the Queen Mother Golden Crow from the outside suddenly came to visit. What is it? There was a trace of displeasure in Ni Long's tone. Ni Long hated to be disturbed at this crucial moment in his training. Sir Ni Long, above this rushing current valley, another wave of powerful powerhouses is pressing down. It seems a powerful presence has descended. It must be that group of heavenly supreme Tao elite warriors from the Tian Xian land. Don't bother with them. I will take care of them when my power is completely restored. Ni Long showed an unconcerned expression. He waved his hand and was about to continue his training. Just when the Queen Mother Golden Crow was about to speak, suddenly, she felt a burst of gigantic movements spreading down from above the rushing current valley. It was as if the entire water surface had been cut open by a sharp blade. "People of the Fengyan land, come out to see me!" A dignified voice emerged. Ni Long's entire body moved and a burst of shrewd lights shot out from his eyes. This is one of us? Let's go out and take a look." In a flash, Ni Long's figure had already dashed out. The other heavenly supreme Tao elite warriors also moved when they heard the voice and all rushed out. Above the rushing current valley, as if performing magic, the waves of water kept overflowing to both sides. As if separated by a surge of magical power, it kept flowing to both sides. A path was opened in the middle. A group of people kept pressing down towards the bottom of the rushing current valley. Of course, the Sound Demon was the leader of this group. "You guys, what are your names? Do you recognize me?" 50 to 60,000 years ago, the Thunder Master God did not break into the Master God level. However, at that time, the Thunder Master God held a high position at the Fengyan land. How could that Ni Long not recognize the appearance of the Thunder Master God? He was greatly astonished. "Mr. Lei! Presumptuous, you must call him Master God." One subordinate of the Sound Demon berated from behind. Ni Long was moved inwardly. "Master God." Then, he revealed an overjoyed expression. "Indeed, Mr. Lei has already become a Master God, haha." Back then, Mr. Lei possessed outstanding talent and was an advanced heavenly god. Now, after tens and thousands of years, you have indeed become a Master God. Congratulations. I Long, pay my respects to you, Thunder Master God. The Sound Demon found it funny inwardly, yet he maintained a dignified expression as he gave a snort. Ni Long, you guys are in such a sorry state, hiding like a turtle and not coming out. You are a disgrace to the Fengyan land. Ni Long was greatly ashamed. "Master God, we were sealed by the elite warriors of the Tian Xian land. A few years ago, when we escaped, our divine soul has not stabilized yet. Thus, we avoided the main force and attacked the weak. I didn't expect you to come here personally. Haha, with you here, the end of the Tian Xian land has arrived." The Sound Demon glanced at everyone. "There are so many of you, and only these are left?" Ni Long immediately answered. "There are still hundreds of people scattered in different corners of the Tian Xian land. They don't know you have come, or else they would be waiting here respectfully." The Sound Demon said lightly, "Since I am here, there is no need to hide. Let them gather here. I will give you 10 days. After 10 days, we will attack the core area of the Tian Xian land directly. You will lead the way. The Fengyan Master Gods have given the order. This time, we must take down the Tian Xian land cleanly." Ni Long was truly overjoyed at this turn of events. "Yes, Master God, I will do it now." Poor Ni Long, how could he see that this Thunder Master God before him was an impostor? In less than 10 days, all of the non-human spies had gathered in this place from all directions. When they heard Ni Long's summons, of course they did not dare to linger for a moment. "Your Lordship, all of our forces are here. The other divine souls are sealed in the God-discarding door." A group was killed and another group was sealed. "I hope you will uphold justice for everyone." Heavenly Venerate Enma nodded as he revealed a sinister smile. Well said, well said. Is everyone here? Are you sure you didn't miss anything?" "Master, there is a list of these people." Now, not a single one is left, everyone is here. The sound demon laughed even more recklessly. Excellent, you have saved me a lot of trouble. Upon hearing these words, Long's divine soul suddenly twitched. A surge of ominous thought emerged in his mind. Today is the Qixi festival. I wish all the readers in the galaxy a happy Valentine's Day. Lovers will be married in the end. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please go to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 972. The moment Long raised his head, a strange light suddenly flashed from the sound demon's eyes. It shot directly at Long's forehead. Long shuddered when he was enveloped by this bright light. As the sound demon's light flashed, his spirit had already jumped out of his physical body and transformed into a towering flame. A sea of fire immediately enveloped the entire space. As if an inescapable net had been pulled open, the fire pressed down. Those experts below the Empyrean Supreme Tao stage were immediately burned by this flame. In an instant, the scene was filled with ghostly wails and howls. Long was enveloped by that divine sense. It was as if he had been immobilized. He was dumbstruck like a wooden chicken. That flame sprang onto his body, and his entire body was immediately set ablaze. With a miserable cry, Long tried his best to break free of the divine soul. However, his Niwen palace was sealed by heavenly venerable sound demon, so he couldn't break free at all. The fire continued to burn, refining his divine soul until it sizzled. The Queen Mother of the Golden Crow realized that something was wrong. She spread her wings and was about to rush out. Long only watched with a smile but did not move. Before the Queen Mother of the Golden Crow could crash out of the door, she let out a blood-curdling scream. An invisible giant net of flames flickered in and out of existence in the air. It was like a giant spider web hanging high in the air. The sound demon had personally made a move. No one, including Long, could resist. No one had the strength to resist. It was a massacre without any suspense. Within an hour, everything was dealt with cleanly. The sound demon laughed heartily. "Haha, not bad, not bad. Another batch of physical bodies." The sound demon only refined the spirits and did not completely destroy the physical bodies. Those spirits could be refined, but the physical bodies could also be preserved. "Young master, the cleanup is complete. Not a single one escaped." The sound demon was not arrogant. In fact, he did not think that this was much of a contribution. It was as easy as lifting a finger. The spirits of the foreign tribe spies, who had given the heavenly mystic 7 headaches for so many years, and who had already escaped, were all cleaned up in less than a day. This kind of psychological shock was indeed very strong. Qin Wushuang, on the other hand, was clear that cleaning up these fellows was just a small test. The real challenge was still the Fengyun continent that was eyeing them covetously from the other side of the galaxy. It was the Wind Master God and Cloud Master God. Although the Fengyun continent had been harshly harassed by the Sound Demon and the others. However, the main powerhouses of the Fengyun continent had all gone to the Black Magpie Star, so they were not injured. Therefore, in terms of actual losses for the Windcloud continent, they were actually just super-powerful beings like the Thunder Master God and Napoleon. Although the uproar here was temporarily suppressed, the situation here had been suppressed. However, the pressure from the Fengyun continent made Qin Wushuang not dare to relax. Fortunately, there was the celestial ship, the Qiyang Golden Body Pagoda, and the Pantheon Mystic Palace. All of these could be used as training grounds for the Heavenly Supreme Path. This would avoid the drawback of having to travel a long distance and leave the Tianxian land to train. Currently, Qin Wushuang only hoped that the Sound Demon could recover his strength as soon as possible. After all, the Fengyun continent had suffered so many setbacks. It was absolutely unknown whether they would wait 5,000 years to attack the Tianxian land. Currently, the Tianxian land was isolated from the outside world. This way, it would be hard to say how the outside world situation would change. Of course, judging from the power Qin Wushuang controlled now, even if the Fengyan continent attacked now, it would be enough to give the other party a huge surprise when they were not on guard. If he could hold on for 100 years, then he would have at least 70 to 80% confidence to defeat the Fengyan continent. If he could hold on for 200 or 300 years, dealing with the Fengyan continent would be as easy as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Currently, Qin Wushuang was more concerned about the breakthrough of his own strength. He had set a goal for himself for 100 years. Training in the celestial ship for 100 years was equivalent to 10,000 years in the outside world. In this 100 years, he must aim for the Master God. Only by becoming a Master God could he ensure that the Tianxian land would have a legal identity in the future. On the other hand, the Master God flying ship of the Fengyan continent had already left the Black Magpie Star and was heading in the direction of the Fengyan continent. The Wind Master God's mood had been gloomy all this while. After the trip to the Black Magpie Star, he could already confirm that there was a 99% chance that all the powerful beings he had sent over from the Fengyan continent were dead. This included the Thunder Master God, the right-hand man that the Wind Master God had always been at ease with. The Wind Master God's gloomy face made the atmosphere extremely stifling. Including the Cloud Master God, no one dared to speak up for fear of angering the Wind Master God. The Wind Master God's face was gloomy as though he had aged considerably. Suddenly, the Wind Master God asked, "Second brother, what are you trying to say?" The Cloud Master God composed himself and said carefully, "Big brother, now that the situation has come to this, we have to face it positively. I think there's something really strange going on here. For a powerful being like Third Brother to go missing so thoroughly, it's definitely not something that those people from the celestial phenomenon mainland could do. Furthermore, by the looks of it, they must have suffered quite a huge loss as well. Yes, the enemy is definitely not from the celestial phenomenon mainland." The Wind Master God sighed out dejectedly. "Do you still remember that flying ship that we caught sight of halfway back when we arrived?" "Big brother, how could I not remember? Back then, I was already suspecting if they had something to do with Third Brother's disappearance. But by the looks of it now, the fact that we saw them leave when we arrived might have happened after they had harmed Third Brother and the others on the Black Magpie Star. Big brother, the question now is just what is the background of that flying ship? Is there any news from the Great Qian Star Domain?" The Great Qian Heavenly Lord had already started investigating this matter a long time ago. But up till now, that flying ship seems to have vanished into thin air without a single trace. The Cloud Master God smacked his lips secretly. "Big brother, even the intelligence network of the Great Qian Star Domain can't find out anything about them? Aren't these enemies a little too scary?" This was also the reason why the Wind Master God's brows were furrowed the entire time. They of the Wind Cloud continent had always been domineering and tyrannical. In the Great Qian Star Domain, other than the heavenly venerate powerful beings that they had to show due respect to, they were usually straightforward and fearless toward the other planes. He had always been used to being a tyrant. Now that he had suddenly met with an enemy that he could not figure out, this situation where he had no way of serving them had the Wind Master God feeling a little uneasy. "Big brother, perhaps the other party isn't here for our Wind Cloud continent?" The Cloud Master God asked carefully. "Otherwise, there's no way so many people from the celestial phenomenon mainland would have gone missing as well." "Yes, by the looks of it now, I'm afraid they are here for the Black Magpie Star. As for Third Brother and the others, they were merely unlucky enough to be caught in the crossfire." As he said that, the Wind Master God's consciousness jerked. What? A series of urgent spirit consciousness transmissions gushed in from his communication jade token one after another. All sorts of information gushed in like a tidal wave. Lord Master God, there's an unknown enemy attacking. Lord Master God, the base of the Windcloud continent has been attacked by an unknown enemy. The face of the Wind Master God turned extremely grim as he gritted his teeth. Make yourself clear. Looking at the look on his big brother's face, the Cloud Master God's heart skipped a beat. Could something bad have happened yet again? The Windcloud continent had just been struck with a calamity this time around. Now that he was hearing such negative news, he could feel his heart skip a beat. The entire plane has been destroyed by an unknown force? The Earth Vein Spirit Root has been completely destroyed? The expression of the Wind Master God was so terrible that it was as though his parents had just died. Big brother, what did you say? The Wind Master God slammed the communication jade token in his hands down fiercely. With a loud thud, a cloud of dust flew up. Increase the speed. Hurry and return to the Windcloud continent. The Wind Master God bellowed out as he gave the order to speed up. The Cloud Master God asked uneasily, Big brother, has something happened again? The Wind Master God waved his hands dismissively with a tone as though he was on the brink of tears. Second brother, I've just received news that our base in the Windcloud continent has been attacked by an unknown force. The Earth Vein Spirit Root has been completely destroyed, and all of our orthodoxies have been toppled. The entire plane has been reduced to ruins. The Cloud Master God nearly fainted. How could that be? How could the news be false? The Wind Master God could not tell whether he was crying or laughing from his own tone. Second brother, we have encountered great trouble. For a moment, the Cloud Master God was speechless. Only after a while did he regain his composure. Big brother, could it be that they are truly targeting our Windcloud continent? Judging by the situation, most likely they are targeting us. Second brother, the Windcloud continent is facing a crisis of life and death. You and I must treat this with 120% of our attention. For someone who can make third brother disappear and beat us at our time difference, we must not let down our guard. The Cloud Master God agreed deeply. Big brother, I suggest that we should report this matter to the great Heavenly Warrior. I'm afraid the matter has already gone beyond our control. The Wind Master God had always been conceited. However, at this moment, he could not speak any big words. After a moment of thinking, he nodded. I believe that the great Heavenly Warrior has already received the news. The Cloud Master God sighed dejectedly. Big brother, we didn't provoke any tough opponents. Who's going against us? You ask me, who should I ask? The persimmons we dare to pinch are undoubtedly soft persimmons. Just like this black magpie star and the Tian Xianlan. Certainly they are soft persimmons that can't play any trick. That's why we can make a move so swiftly. Unexpectedly, at the black magpie star, we suffered such a huge setback. We even let the enemy take advantage of the time difference, and even our base was destroyed. The tone of the Wind Master God was filled with a wave of ruthless intentions. Big brother, at the Windcloud continent, our base was destroyed and the ley lines were cut off. This is a calamity that will last for 10,000 years. In the future, how are we going to pass down our legacy? The facial muscles of the Wind Master God twitched. We must speed up the attack on those planes without a master. I don't believe that we can't develop one of these planes. Especially the Tian Xianland, a few tens of thousands of years ago, that place has proven itself to be a great place. Second brother, this time when we go back, you and I must focus on studying the Tian Xianland. The Cloud Master God nodded. Yes, with our strength, although we will have to pay some price to blast open that soaring of Galaxia barrier, we can still do it. However, the Wind Master God shook his head. No, if we have to pay a price, it's not appropriate for us to do it for now. I plan to go to the great Heavenly Warrior and borrow a Heavenly Warrior divine weapon. For a Heavenly Warrior divine weapon, you and I will work together to open up a gap. By that time, with our combined strength, we can break it in one go. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 973. The Wind Cloud continent was indeed in a state of devastation. Almost every single spirit root was completely destroyed, such that there was no longer a single suitable place for cultivation in the entire Wind Cloud continent. Looking at this piece of territory that he had created with his own hands, the Wind Master God wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Those hands within his sleeves were gripped tightly into fists as his eyes were filled with rage. They were like volcanoes that were ready to erupt at any moment, concealing an immense amount of wrath. Once it was unleashed, the might of it would be extremely frightening. Who did this? Who did this? The flames in the eyes of the Wind Master God danced wildly. That gaze of his was just like the edge of a blade, causing those powerful beings who were groveling at his feet to feel their hearts quiver. Under the might of the Wind Master God, none of those powerful beings who were left behind dared to move at all. They were afraid that they might anger the Wind Master God and bring about a fatal disaster upon themselves. Big brother, calm down. The Cloud Master God consoled from the side. The Wind Master God tried his best to calm down his emotions and repress his rage. He then said slowly, "Who wants to tell me? All of you, tell me. This isn't your fault. With powerful beings pressuring our borders, you guys won't be able to defend against them. Whatever information you guys have, tell us. Whoever provides the most useful information will be rewarded by me and the Wind Master God." The Cloud Master God knew that if he did not placate these people properly, they would definitely not dare to say anything in their fear. The only way to get more information out of them was to get rid of that fear of theirs. Indeed, the moment they heard the words of the Cloud Master God, all of them relaxed considerably. They tried their best to recall everything that they had seen and heard. Without hiding anything, they reported everything. The information of one or two people might not be of much use. But, when the information of dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of people were gathered together, it would more or less have some reference value. A gigantic flying ship that was even larger than that of a Master God. That was a clue. Although there weren't many of them, all of them were super powerful beings who were as ferocious as wolves and tigers. Just 30 to 50 of them were enough to turn the entire Wind Cloud continent into a mess. As for the powerful being in the lead, be it in terms of aura or strength, he seemed to possess the potential of a Master God. That was a useful clue as well. With so many of them gathered together, the faces of the Wind and Cloud Master Gods were extremely grim. "Big brother, by the looks of things, this is indeed quite troublesome," the Cloud Master God said. The Wind Master God waved it off with his hand. "Get ready. We'll head to the headquarters of the Great Qian Star region immediately. I want to pay my respects to the Great Qian Heavenly Lord." The entire Qian Star domain controlled millions of planes with and without masters. They were considered a tyrant and had some status in the entire Great Luo universe. As the Lord of a star region, the Great Qian Heavenly Venerate's strength was not to be underestimated. Since he could take charge of the entire starfield, it was likely very difficult for ordinary Empyrean-level powerhouses to contend with him. From the Wind Cloud continent to the headquarters in the Grand Qian stellar domain, given the speed of the sovereign flying vessel, it would take at least a few years for a round trip. Therefore, it was impossible for them to use the flying ship. Instead, they decided to use the Galaxy teleportation array. Using the teleportation formation, the time taken to reach the destination could be greatly reduced. The relationship between the Fengyun continent and the Deqian star field headquarters was very close. In addition, the Fengyun continent was a major force in the Deqian star field and was highly regarded by the Deqian star field headquarters. Therefore, there was a direct teleportation formation between them. This time around, the Wind and Cloud Master Gods had learned their lesson and did not move out together. The Wind Master God was in charge of moving out while the Cloud Master God was in charge of guarding the door. Even though the Phonian continent was already destroyed beyond recognition, now that the main forces of the Phonian continent had returned, there had to be a Master God-level powerhouse watching over the place. Otherwise, if the enemy were to launch a second attack, they would definitely be met with a huge problem. With that arrangement in place, the Wind Master God entered the teleportation formation and arrived at the headquarters of the Deqian star field in less than a day. This Deqian star field was way bigger than most Master God star fields. The Wind Master God was rather familiar with the place as he arrived before the Great Qian Heavenly Venerate Hall directly. Someone had long reported to the Great Qian Heavenly Venerate. Evidently, the Wind Master God was highly regarded. Not long after the report was made, there was an envoy who came out to receive him. That envoy was extremely affectionate. Wind Master God, the Lord Heavenly Venerate has ordered you to enter. The Wind Master God nodded his head. In front of an envoy of the Heavenly Venerate, he could not put on any airs. Any envoy of the Heavenly Venerate Hall would not lose to him in terms of strength. After entering the Heavenly Venerate Hall, the Wind Master God bowed down. Your subordinate pays his respects to the Lord Heavenly Venerate. Dispense with the formalities. The Heavenly Venerate Great Qian replied indifferently. Wind Master God, I've already heard about what happened in your Wind Cloud continent. There's something fishy about this matter. Do you have any leads to bring me? When he heard the Heavenly Venerate Great Qian mention it of his own accord, the Wind Master God was stunned for a moment before sighing out helplessly. Lord Heavenly Venerate, this is truly an unexpected calamity. Our Wind Cloud continent has been set up by someone. And it's an extremely shady one at that. As for who the enemy is, your subordinate still does not have a single clue up till now. Yes, the enemy is indeed extremely mysterious. I've sent people to investigate as well. Recently, there hasn't been any news of an enemy invading the borders of the star field. If we're talking about an enemy, I'm afraid it's still an internal enemy. The Wind Master God replied gloomily. Internal enemy? Since when did such a formidable character appear in our Great Qian star field? Lord Heavenly Venerate, according to my intelligence, the enemy came in a Heavenly Venerate flying ship. Furthermore, they're extremely organized and resourceful. Back when I was on the Black Magpie Star, I saw a gigantic flying ship that was much larger than most Master God flying ship. At that time, your subordinate was in a daze and did not investigate further. Now that I think about it, there's a high chance that it's the culprit who attacked our Wind Cloud continent later on. Heavenly Venerate flying ship? The Heavenly Venerate Great Qian's expression changed slightly. Tell me in detail. The Wind Master God did not dare to hide anything as he recounted everything he had seen and heard that day, as well as all the information he had received from the Wind Cloud continent. The Heavenly Venerate Great Qian's brows furrowed tightly as he listened. This was no longer a problem of the Wind Cloud continent alone. For such a mysterious power to appear under his rule, this was definitely not good news for him. Only the heavens knew if the ultimate target of this power would be him, the Heavenly Venerate Great Qian? Could it be his entire Great Qian star field? After all, in the world of the powerful beings, the stronger they were, the bigger their appetites would be as well. If it was merely a matter of the Wind Cloud continent, he might not have made such a big fuss over it. But when it came to his ruling position in the Great Qian star field, that was a different story altogether. For a powerful being of the Heavenly Venerate level, the thing they were most concerned about was naturally none other than their own territories. If their territories were to be invaded, that would be something that crossed the bottom line. He immediately ordered, start a search in all the Master God planes. As for the planes without a Master God plane, arrange the search based on the nearest one. Whichever Master God plane is closest to it will be searched in that Master God plane. We must set up an inescapable net and search for that suspected heavenly Venerate flying ship. Through the heavenly Venerate order, this order was naturally transmitted to all the major planes at the fastest speed possible. There were hundreds of thousands of planes in the entire Great Chien star field. Among them, there were at least tens of thousands of Master God planes. With tens of thousands of Master God planes forming a net-like search, the efficiency would definitely be extraordinarily high. After the heavenly Venerate Great Chien was done with his instructions, he looked at the Wind Master God. Wind Master God, since your wind cloud continent has been destroyed, you must find a new place to settle down. The Wind Master God replied gratefully, "Thank you for your concern, Lord Heavenly Venerate. Now that my wind cloud continent has been destroyed, it won't be that easy to find a place to settle down." Hasn't your wind cloud continent been working hard to develop the surrounding planes without a Master God plane? Now that things have come to this, is there no suitable place at all? There are a few, but they are not perfect. There is a Tian Xian land with many immemorial legends. However, the Supreme Tao elite warriors there are extremely stubborn. They disregarded their lives and used hundreds of divine souls to seal the soaring of Galaxia boundary to build a firm barrier. I am afraid it will take a few thousand years to break it. Besides the Tian Xian land, is there no other place to take? The heavenly Venerate Great Chien could not help but ask. Yes, but none of them are comparable to the Tian Xian land. If that's the case, why wait a few thousand years? Could it be that with the two of you working together, you are afraid you cannot break that soaring of Galaxia boundary? Great Heavenly Venerate, logically speaking, that soaring of Galaxia boundary should not be able to stop us. However, we have exhausted all methods and still could not break it in one go. Even when we unleash the power of our Master God weapons to the limit, it is still difficult to break it open. I am afraid only a heavenly Venerate divine weapon can break that boundary. The heavenly Venerate Great Chien moved his brows and laughed. This way, you are planning to take advantage of me? The Wind Master God chuckled and silently agreed. If that's the case, since you came to beg me, I will not let you return empty-handed. The heavenly Venerate Great Chien shook his sleeve, and a burst of strong light flashed out. He grabbed with his hand and a lotus flower bloomed in the center of his palm. This lotus flower kept blooming and formed a perfect shape. It kept changing and turned into a giant lotus hammer. This is a heavenly Venerate divine weapon I concocted 3,000 years ago, and I have never used it. It is called the octagonal lotus hammer. You can take it. Refine it with the power of the two of you. In 30 to 50 years you might succeed. If you use this octagonal lotus hammer to bombard the soaring of Galaxia boundary, you will certainly break it. The Wind Master God was overjoyed at the unexpected good news as he immediately went up to thank him. Great Heavenly Venerate, I am truly grateful for your kindness. The Wind Master God was beaming with joy as he took the octagonal lotus hammer. Since the heavenly Venerate Great Chien had made a move, he would definitely not be some trash. With this toy in hand, if he said the soaring of Galaxia boundary could be broken, it would be broken. The heavenly Venerate Great Chien said lightly, Wind Master God, I did not bestow you the octagonal lotus hammer just to break that soaring of Galaxia boundary. Your weathering land is a powerhouse that I have always thought highly of. I hope you guys will take care of yourselves and don't disappoint me. The Wind Master God immediately promised, I understand. After seizing the Tian Xian land, I will do my best to fight for you, Great Heavenly Venerate. I must find that murderer and kill him, for the sake of Great Heavenly Venerate Ju. Yes, go. Hurry up and refine it, time waits for no one. With a sweep of his sleeve, the Heavenly Venerate Great Chien disappeared before his Heavenly Venerate throne. Holding the octagonal lotus hammer, the Wind Master God was extremely excited. Misfortunes never come singly. Yesterday, when I was about to resume updating, there was a sudden clap of thunder. The cat that went online was burned. I was secretly happy that the computer did not burn. When I tried it this morning, I realized that the network card was also burned. I can only send it for repair. Old bull, think of a way to not affect the updates. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 974. The Heavenly Lord of the Great Heavens Order caused an uproar in the entire Great Heaven Star Zone. The Great Heaven Star Zone had tens of thousands of Master God planes and close to 20,000 Master God. Once all of them moved, the momentum would naturally be vast. Fortunately, the Tian-Xian continent did not move. Due to the astral river boundary, they knew nothing about the outside world. 20 to 30 years passed unknowingly. To the Tian-Xian continent, these 20 to 30 years were great gains. Due to cultivating in the sacred Emperor Heavenly Ship, Heavenly Venerate Enma and the others, who originally needed 200 or 300 years to recover, had successfully fused their bodies and souls during this period of time. Although they did not recover their full strength, they already possessed 80 to 90% of their divine power. As long as the Heavenly Lord of the Great Heaven did not come personally, Qin Wushuang's camp could easily defeat any Master God plane. However, Qin Wushuang was not overly optimistic. Now only 20 to 30 years had passed. As long as there was still a little time, he must cherish it. In these 20 to 30 years, Qin Wushuang's improvement was also obvious. On the foundation of the fourth calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage, he had achieved continuous breakthroughs. He was already an advanced sixth calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. With such strength, perhaps he would not be able to fight against a Master God. However, if he encountered any Heavenly Supreme Tao elite warriors below the Master God level, Qin Wushuang definitely had the capital to look down on them. After all, to Qin Wushuang, he had sufficient capital. Across the entire Great Luo universe, the inheritances that Li Xianfeng and the Holy Emperor Qi Yang had left for him were limited. For your information, Li Xianfeng and the Holy Emperor Qi Yang were both legendary Holy Emperors. Even in the Great Luo universe where the Holy Emperor stood in great numbers, these two were also ranked high. On this day, the heavenly mysterious 7 disciples gathered together to discuss the future of the Tian-Xian continent. In these 20 to 30 years, the heavenly mysterious 7 disciples' cultivation had also improved and achieved astonishing breakthroughs. In these tens and thousands of years at the Tian-Xian land, they had always been engrossed in cultivation. Although they had never achieved a breakthrough, in terms of consciousness and realm, they already possessed the capital to achieve continuous breakthroughs. However, due to the limitations of the rules, he could not achieve a breakthrough. After entering the celestial ship to cultivate, the restraints of the rules were immediately released. The heavenly arcana 7 disciples were like fish in water. Tens of thousands of years of suppression suddenly erupted. Tens of thousands of years of accumulation allowed them to leap and break through continuously. Li Bai kept upgrading from the 3rd level and became an elite warrior at the 5th calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. As for the others, they had also overcome 2 tribulations. Xiao Yishuan, Li Yifeng, and the others had overcome 4 tribulations of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. Even 7th brother Miao Su had ascended to the 3rd tribulation of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. Junior brother Wushuang, congratulations. 6th calamity of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. Haha, it seems that in time, the first Master God of the Tian-Xian land will be born. Clearly, Li Yifeng was in a good mood. Junior brother Wushuang, once you become a Master God, if the Wind and Cloud land hasn't made a move yet, we'll take the lead and register at the Great Qian Star Zone. You have the power of a Master God, and have been born and raised at the Tianxian land. All procedures are reasonable. Even if the heavenly warrior of the Great Qian Star Zone wants to make things difficult for you, it will be difficult for him to shut the mouths of the people, Xiao Yishuan suggested. Yes, second brother is right. We must first establish our footing on the principle. For other matters we can plan slowly. This was sixth brother Qi Hengyu's suggestion. Senior brother, what do you think? Qin Wushuang asked Li Bai with a smile. After a moment of silence, Li Bai also nodded. I think this method will work. If we establish our footing on the principle, the wind and cloud land will not have any reason to invade. This way we can reduce the suffering of the people. Li Bai was a kind-hearted person. In the end, he was unwilling for the Tianxian land to suffer another calamity of war. Instantly, Huaxia was not happy. Senior brother, second brother, it's right to establish our footing on the principle. However, if we just let go of the grudge with the wind and cloud land, we would be letting down the sacrifices of our ancestors. For your information, the immemorial gods sacrificed their lives to protect the Tianxian land. If we write off this debt, how could the heroic spirits of our ancestors rest in peace? Yichong Tian also cried out, Fifth's words make sense. We cannot let go of the grudge with the wind and cloud land. Li Bai said lightly, no one is saying to let it go. Now, junior brother Wushuang has so many cards in his hand. There are many ways to deal with the wind and cloud land. The stupidest method is to fight them head-on. It's not advisable to fight them head-on and expose too much of your strength. Qin Wushuang laughed. Senior brother was the most considerate. Now, if they were to fight head-on with the wind and cloud land and use thunderous methods to defeat them and kill them, it would be satisfying. However, without a doubt, it would put the Tianxian land at the heart of the struggle. To the current Tianxian land, this was an unwise choice. It would have been fine if the Tianxian land had always been the powerhouse of the Great Qian Star Zone. The Tianxian land had always been unknown. When such power erupted from them all of a sudden, for sure it would cause great panic and attract indescribable hostility. It was as if a poor person had suddenly acquired more wealth than any wealthy person. For sure, he would be misunderstood as a nouveau riche and attract unnecessary hostility. For the Tianxian land to rise, they must do it step by step. Senior brother, what plan do you have? Huaxia could not help but ask. Li Bai said with a leisurely smile, the wind and cloud land was destroyed by the sound demon and his people once. If I've guessed correctly, for sure they will make a move against the Tianxian land. Once we acquire the certification from the Master God Plane, we will gain the same status as the wind and cloud land. As soon as they reach out, we can launch a thunderous counterattack. With a weak advantage, we can defeat the wind and cloud land. This way, although it would easily arouse people's suspicion, it would not cause panic. Xiao Yishuan was experienced and prudent as he nodded. Senior brother's words make sense. We cannot expose our strength all of a sudden. We must leave some backup plans. Especially the sound demon, we must not expose ourselves. If the heavenly warrior of the Great Qian targeted us, it would not be good. We must have a backup plan to restrain the heavenly warrior of the Great Qian. Being the leader of the Great Qian Galaxy, certainly the personal strength of the heavenly warrior of the Great Qian Galaxy was top-notch. What was more terrifying was the elite warrior system he was in charge of. Not to mention the 20,000 master gods of the entire galaxy, even the subordinates of the heavenly warrior of the Great Qian Galaxy had countless elite warriors. With Qin Wushuang's current strength, it would be more than enough to fight against the wind and cloud land. However, to fight against the heavenly warrior of the Great Qian Galaxy, it would be insufficient and he would have no chance of winning. Regardless of Qin Wushuang or Li Bai, they were well aware of this fact. Unless Qin Wushuang entered the ranks of the heavenly warrior elite warriors. Or else, in the end, he would not be qualified to become enemies with the heavenly warrior of the great Qian galaxy. Of course, Qin Wushuang also had obvious advantages. At least, he was young. Being young meant everything. Being young meant having unlimited capital and unlimited possibilities. Per Qin Wushuang's current development, in less than 100 years of training, he was already at the peak of the advanced heavenly god level. Although everything was due to the effect of Li Xuanfeng's bloodline, it was inseparable from Qin Wushuang's own persistence and hard work, intelligence and talent. Per the current trend, at most it would take him 3,000 years to become a master god. Theoretically, in the Holy Emperor's world, 3,000 years would only take 30 years. Of course, this was a theoretical value. To truly break through and become a master god, one would need opportunities and an instant of clarity. This was something no external help could solve. While they were discussing, a guard walked in from the outside. "Young master, the scout sent to the celestial phenomenon land has returned. Let him in." Qin Wushuang waved his hand and ordered. That scout was an advanced heavenly god. However, at this moment, he was respectful before Qin Wushuang. After witnessing Qin Wushuang's talent and methods, these people, including the Sound Demon, were all convinced. They sincerely admired Qin Wushuang. "Young master, the situation in the outside world is extremely chaotic. I have asked around in the celestial phenomenon land. The entire great Qian galaxy is in an uproar. All the Master God planes have started an investigation to find a heavenly warrior flying ship and the murderer who attacked the wind and cloud land. This order was given by the heavenly warrior of the great Qian." Heavenly warrior of the great Qian. Qin Wushuang chewed on this name meaningfully. His tone was extremely complicated. Indeed, it was the heavenly warrior of the great Qian. It was rumored that the wind and cloud land had a close relationship with the heavenly warrior of the great Qian. In such a short time, the heavenly warrior of the great Qian had ordered an investigation personally. This relationship was indeed deep. Li Bai's tone was somewhat bitter. It seems the heavenly warrior of the great Qian is already paying attention to this problem. As expected, up to this point, it's no longer a confrontation between the wind and cloud land and the Tianxian land. Qin Wushuang was rather indifferent as he laughed. "No need to worry, senior brother. Even if the heavenly warrior of the great Qian possesses great magical power and overwhelming power, what about it? Currently, he would never think that this matter is related to the Tianxian land. Just as you said, we will not expose all of our strength. We will show our strength step by step. As long as the celestial ship is not exposed, they will not think of us." Li Bai said with a frown, "There is a problem. Now we have the soaring of Galaxia barrier here. Before the barrier is broken, we cannot leave here to authenticate the Master God plane. Or else, that transportation formation will be exposed. Once exposed, many things will be easily exposed." This was a serious problem. Instantly, Qin Wushuang realized the severity of it. Immediately, he said, "The most urgent matter is to continue training. I will strive to break into the Master God stage as soon as possible. Senior brothers should also speed up your training. If you become stronger, you will have more hope. Sooner or later, this Tianxian land will be ruled by you." Li Bai and the others did not feel surprised. With the potential displayed by junior brother Wushuang, clearly this little Tianxian land would not be his final destination. With such a great future, certainly junior brother Wushuang would continue to fly higher. For this point, they did not doubt it at all. Immediately, Qin Wushuang dismissed everyone and returned to the celestial ship to train. "In these few days, my body has been in poor condition. Plus, I had to send my computer for repair, so I was delayed for many days. Today, under the scorching sun, I went to my relative's house to freeload a computer. I used 2 hours to write 2 chapters. Today, I will update 1 chapter tomorrow. By the day after tomorrow, I will most likely get the computer. Next, I will update steadily. Until I finish the book. I didn't expect that such a terrible thing would happen before the end of the soaring of Galaxia. Indeed, God is deliberately torturing me and corrupting my character. To be continued. If you want to know about the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 975. Ever since the Wind and Cloud Master Gods had obtained the heavenly venerate weapon, the octagonal lotus hammer, they had gone into seclusion as well. They did not care about the outside world, and focused solely on refining the octagonal lotus hammer. After 30 years, the Wind and Cloud Master Gods had already begun to refine the octagonal lotus hammer. However, they were still lacking in terms of mastery. Big brother, this octagonal lotus hammer is indeed a heavenly venerate weapon. In our hands, the strongest Master God weapon would only take us 5 years at most to refine. Even after 30 years of refining this heavenly venerate weapon, we've only managed to refine half of it. Seems like we'll need another 30 years of hard work to unleash its full potential. Haha, 30 years plus 30 years is only 60 years. Even if we spend a few more years to perfect it, it'll only take us 70 years at most. If we were to rely on our strength alone, we'd need 5,000 years. Tell me, which one is more worth it? At this moment, the Wind Master God was in high spirits as he refined the octagonal lotus hammer. As long as there was no master in the surrounding plains, he could conquer whichever one he wanted. He could choose whichever one he wanted to settle down in. The Wind Master God had coveted the Tianxian continent for a long time. After all, some of the rumors regarding the Tianxian continent had moved his heart. It was rumored that there were some tempting rumors regarding the Tianxian continent. This time, with the power of the octagonal lotus hammer as a heavenly venerate weapon, he could shatter the astral river barrier and take down the Tianxian continent. He had fulfilled his wish of many years. If those rumors were true, that would be a great fortune. The Wind Master God was extremely ambitious. He even hid those rumors from the great Qian Heavenly Lord. Second brother, we'll have to hurry. Within 40 years, we must take down the Tianxian continent. If the Tianxian continent truly has the inheritance of the Holy Emperor, we'll be rich. Haha. The inheritance of the Holy Emperor. I feel that it's too unreal. Why would a powerful being at the level of the Holy Emperor set his eyes on a place like the Tianxian continent? The Cloud Master God was rather calm. Even if it's not the inheritance of the Holy Emperor, the inheritance of a Heavenly Lord is still decent. Since we can't open a new territory in the Great Qian Star Zone, can't we plot another star zone? You and I are brothers with our abilities and ambitions. We can't just be content with being a mere master of a plane. If we want to be one, we have to be masters. The tone of the Wind Master God was filled with confidence. Big brother, I hope the Tianxian land will not disappoint us. The Cloud Master God could only go along with it since it was inappropriate to pour cold water on him. In a certain spacious space on the Saint Emperor heavenly ship, the surrounding environment was like a paradise. The spiritual energy was so abundant that it had reached an extreme level. Qin Wushuang was in the depths of this canyon-like terrain. His entire body was enshrouded in purple qi, and he was like a towering mountain that soared into the sky. The Saint Emperor Heavenly Ark was the Saint Emperor's spatial domain, and it was a world of its own. If it could be fully developed, it wouldn't be a problem to accommodate an ordinary plane. It should be known that the Holy Emperor was in charge of a small universe, and his use of the law of space had reached a shocking level. Therefore, the celestial ship's spatial precepts were constantly being stimulated. The space within the ship was also constantly expanding and expanding. Another 30 years passed. Qin Wushuang had already reached the final step of breaking through to Lord level. If he could cross this step, he would become a Lord-level Master God. At this moment, there was no one around Qin Wushuang to disturb him. Inside the celestial ship, there was naturally no need for any protectors. This was his personal space, and it couldn't be any safer. Indeed, the heavenly tribulation to become a Master God was incomparable to ordinary heavenly tribulations. Qin Wushuang had already withstood the first 8 attacks. The final attack was of utmost importance. If he could withstand it, he could break through in one go. If he could not, all of his fate and opportunities would be for naught. Qin Wushuang was fully aware of the importance of this attack. This was definitely the most important heavenly tribulation he had ever faced since he stepped onto the path of cultivation. Once he broke through, it meant that he would become a new generation of Master Gods, ruling over the Tianxian land. From then on, he would have a name, and the Tianxian land would no longer be threatened by those tigers and wolves. The rumbling sound of thunder lingered in the ears. Countless electric snakes transformed into various kinds of electric lights and danced in the sky. Like numerous raging dragons, they interweaved in the sky. Rumble! With a loud boom, the electric snakes that filled the sky bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they bombarded downward. With Qin Wushuang's body as the core area, they enveloped him from all directions. Qin Wushuang's entire body transformed into a purple whirlpool. He kept soaring and swirling faster and faster. The heavenly branch Kuei wolf sword in his hands kept shooting out various kinds of sword chi. It also formed a giant defensive net that kept circling above his head. 1, 2, 3, 4 The defense formed by these sword chi was like a giant umbrella that blocked Qin Wushuang's body underneath. Even so, the electric snake attacks that filled the sky did not stop at all. They became more and more rampant as if they had met their match. They became more and more ferocious. They kept swallowing the defensive system formed by the sword net. Qin Wushuang had always been successful in using the heavenly branch Kuei wolf sword. However, facing this Master God heavenly tribulation today, it was indeed somewhat strenuous. In fact, this Master God heavenly tribulation was equivalent to the attack of a Master God. Although it was not the full power attack of a Master God, it was at least 60 to 70% of a Master God's power. Under such circumstances, if Qin Wushuang did not borrow the power of those two swords, most likely he would have been blasted into pieces under this level of heavenly tribulation. Even the heavenly branch Kuei wolf heavenly venerable divine weapon felt incredibly strenuous under such a dense circle of attacks. After all, Qin Wushuang's control of the heavenly branch Kuei wolf had not reached the point of perfection. Such dense attacks made the heavenly branch Kuei wolf sword more or less feel a trace of strain. Fortunately, Qin Wushuang had exceptional skills and his sword skills reached the climax. Indeed, his set of defensive sword skills was watertight. However, this Master God heavenly tribulation was clearly incomparable to ordinary heavenly tribulations. Wave after wave, as if there was no end, it kept testing Qin Wushuang's nerves. Everyone watching the battle from afar was also on tenterhook. When they saw the power of the heavenly tribulation, each of them felt secretly worried. Especially the heavenly mysterious 7 disciples, they were even more worried. Even Li Bai had never seen the heavenly tribulation of a Master God. Therefore, he did not know the depth of it and could only feel helpless and anxious. The only ones who had such experience were the 9 great demon gods. With the Sound Demon as the leader, the 9 great demon gods all had similar experiences. However, at this moment, even the Sound Demon appeared extremely solemn. "Boss, what's going on? I feel that this heavenly tribulation has surpassed the scope of a Master God heavenly tribulation. I remember that when I entered the Master God level, there was no such powerful heavenly tribulation." Tu Weng also felt strange. "Boss, something is wrong. How come I feel that this heavenly tribulation is at least 2 or 3 times more powerful than the Master God heavenly tribulation I encountered? Young Master's 2 swords should be more than enough to deal with the heavenly tribulation of a Master God. How could he be in such a sorry state? The Sound Demon mumbled, I can only say that young Master seems to have hit the jackpot. He encountered the calamity of calamities. This calamity of calamities is at least twice as powerful as the heavenly tribulation of an ordinary Master God. If it weren't for young Master, regardless of who you or I are, we would have died 9 out of 10 times. Calamity of calamities? On the side, a look of worry suddenly shot out from Li Bai's eyes. Although he had never seen the heavenly tribulation of a Master God, he had heard of the calamity of calamities. This calamity of calamities was not ordinary. It was the calamity of calamities. Once one encountered it, it would be at least twice as difficult as usual. However, this calamity of calamities was not all bad. There were also benefits. If anyone encountered the calamity of calamities, once they passed it safely, their achievements would be extraordinary. They would be much stronger than those elite warriors who had just entered the Master God level. As long as they worked hard to train, soon they would be able to fight against elite warriors at the peak of the Master God level. This was something ordinary Master Gods could not compare to. The Sound Demon gave a long sigh. This is most likely a genius sent from the heavens. The heavens are testing young Master on purpose. If he can pass it, no elite warriors at the Master God level can defeat him, unless they are at the peak of the Master God level. A Master God who can pass the calamity of calamities can become a heavenly warrior with 100% certainty. However, there is a great chance that they will encounter the calamity of calamities during their heavenly tribulation. They all say that only the geniuses among geniuses will encounter this calamity of calamities. It seems the rumors are true. This way, this calamity of calamities is specially prepared for geniuses? You can say that. Since the cultivation process of geniuses is too smooth in the beginning, the heavenly calamities will keep accumulating. At the final crucial stage, they will erupt together. It's not strange for the difficulty to increase. Of course, most of the elite warriors who can achieve the level of the Holy Emperor have experienced the calamity of calamities. This is a test from the heavens, an arrangement of fate. When the Sound Demon said here, he said with a deep tone, I hope young Master can pass it safely. While they were discussing, Qin Wushuang blocked another dozen waves of attack. Under such attacks, the 2 swords of the heavenly branch Kuei Wolf could not help but emit a sorrowful sword cry. Clearly they had reached their limit, and the heavenly calamity did not seem to stop. The clouds in all directions kept gathering. Behind the clouds, lightning flashed and thunder roared, tearing the sky apart. It seemed that it would not stop until the world was destroyed. Suddenly, the sky darkened. All the clouds seemed to be summoned at the same time and quickly gathered toward the center. All the lightning and heavenly calamities gathered together as if they had made an agreement. Between heaven and earth, a huge hole suddenly collapsed. It was like a big black hole and a big whirlpool at the beginning of the primordial age. This huge whirlpool seemed to contain the essence of the entire universe. With a strong devouring power, it shot out tens of thousands of rays of light toward Qin Wushuang. It was like a huge bell was suddenly pressing down on his head. With a crash, it came down hard. Qin Wushuang was deep in the core area of this huge whirlpool. He suddenly felt that heaven and earth had completely changed, as if he was in the primordial age. This momentum was not something that the 2 swords of the heavenly branch Kuei Wolf could resist. Qin Wushuang muttered something and opened his palm. Golden light overflowed from his palm. The golden crimson sun pagoda was instantly enveloped in a golden light and began to expand. With a momentum that could support the heavens, it kept expanding and skyrocketing. The tip of the pagoda kept expanding. The golden light protruded and firmly resisted the momentum of the huge bell pressing down. It was a confrontation. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www. Chidian. Calm, there are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 976. The Qiyang Golden Body Pagoda was indeed the signature treasure of the Holy Emperor. Once it was activated, although Qin Wushuang was far from being able to unleash its full power, once it was unleashed, its power was naturally extraordinary. Now that Qin Wushuang, the Holy Emperor's divine weapon, had made a move, the situation instantly changed. The golden light of the Qiyang Golden Body Pagoda was like a towering tree that propped up the sky, constantly lifting up the giant bell. This upward force was abnormally ferocious. Originally, the giant whirlpool that had appeared in the void was being held up by this golden light, and cracks began to appear. This golden light was like a ferocious beast that was using the fiercest method to devour the spatial whirlpool. After about 15 minutes, the giant whirlpool in the void was finally completely shattered by the golden light, leaving behind only remnants of air fluctuations that were struggling weakly like a half-dried stream. Qin Wushuang's entire body seemed to be covered with a layer of golden light. His entire being was bathed in this golden light, and the pupils in his eyes were like stars, emitting a deep light. Sovereign strength. This was sovereign strength. Qin Wushuang's eyes were wide open as he looked into the distance, feeling the greatness and wonders of the vast universe. After safely passing through this tribulation of tribulations, he felt that he seemed to have gained a clearer understanding of the origin of this world. Countless thoughts flashed through Qin Wushuang's mind, but when these thoughts gathered together, they finally converged into one. The heavenly way was infinite. The higher Qin Wushuang's level rose, the more he felt the vastness of the heavenly way. Even someone as strong as a sovereign could only touch the edge of it. From this, one could imagine how great an existence a supreme Great Luo who controlled the entire Great Luo universe was. Ha ha ha, young master, congratulations! Junior brother Wushuang, great news, great news! One figure after another surged over from all directions. The Sound Demon, Li Bai, and the others all flew over from all directions, and all of them landed around Qin Wushuang. Everyone has worked hard. Qin Wushuang smiled lightly and waved his hand. Between his movements, he already had the valiant temperament of an overlord. Li Bai and the other heavenly mysterious 7 disciples all had tears in their eyes. They had waited for this day for too long. Now, the heavens had taken pity on them. Junior brother Qin Wushuang had finally lived up to their expectations and broke through the barrier to become a sovereign. He had achieved an unprecedented feat in the history of the Tianxian land. Sovereign. Finally, the Tianxian land had a native master god, a native master god. A sovereign's a true master who was qualified to rule and control of the land. What did this mean? It meant that the profound sky continent would be able to escape the fate of being trampled upon by others and become an ideal home with its own sovereignty and a master of the plane. Master, congratulations to Master, Demon 222 Sovereign, haha. The Sound Demon appeared incredibly joyful as he roared with laughter. With your age, I am afraid that across the entire Great Luo universe, there will not be more than 100 people who entered the sovereign stage at your age. Qin Wushuang did not care about these empty titles as he asked, Senior brother, is there any movement at the soaring of Galaxia barrier? At the soaring of Galaxia barrier, Golden Ray Dragon King and a group of Paramount Totem elite warriors were training inside the soaring of Galaxia Tower. At the same time, they were observing the movements of the barrier. As soon as there was a trace of movement from the soaring of Galaxia barrier, they would send the news over immediately. Li Bai said, For now there is no movement. However, since the Wind and Cloud Land has lost their territory, certainly they will launch a crazy attack on the Tianxian land. We must be careful. Second Demon Warrior Tu Weng revealed an indifferent expression as he revealed a sinister smile. What's there to care about? Now, young master is already a sovereign elite warrior. Are you afraid of the wind and cloud land? As soon as that Qiyang golden body pagoda is summoned, the entire wind and cloud land will be turned into ashes. If the holy Emperor Qiyang made a move, indeed he could make the entire wind and cloud land collapse instantly. However, with Qin Wushuang's current strength, he could not accomplish this. According to Li Bai's idea, once he became a sovereign god, he could register at the great heavenly galaxy and let the Tianxian land become a sovereign plane. Initially, this idea was good. However, last time the scouts reported that the great heavenly lord ordered to search the entire galaxy for the murderer that destroyed the wind and cloud land. This was sending out a clear signal that in the end, the great heavenly lord still favored the wind and cloud land. If Qin Wushuang were to register at the Tianxian land recklessly, it would not be impossible for the great heavenly lord to leak some information to the wind and cloud land. He could even send people to kill Qin Wushuang in secret. He would never do such a stupid thing that delivered himself to his door. Ha ha! In a mysterious place at the wind and cloud land, the wind master god let out a proud long roar. Like the spring thunder, his roar resonated across the entire wind and cloud land. Currently, the cloud master god could not suppress the joy from his heart. Success, finally success. After 60 years of hard work, he finally succeeded in refining the octagonal lotus hammer. Under their joint efforts, the heavenly Lord divine weapon finally revealed its glory. The heavenly Lord divine weapon was successfully refined. The wind master god could not wait any longer. He called out, "Second, let's work together and go to that soaring of Galaxia barrier. We will break it in one go, how about it?" Currently, the Cloud Master God was also incredibly excited. However, he was not as impatient as the Wind Master God. Instead, he said, "Big brother, breaking the soaring of Galaxia barrier is an easy task. You and I don't need to be in a hurry. It's better to plan how to break the Tianxian land, how to control it, and how to take over the land without destroying its foundation. This is the key. With your and my thunderous methods, how could anyone in the Tianxian land dare to resist?" Currently, the Wind Master God was in high and vigorous spirits. Across the entire world, it seemed that not many could enter his eyes, not to mention a mere Tianxian land. What was there to worry about for a plane that did not even have an advanced heavenly god? Although the Tianxian land possesses ordinary strength, the local indigenous people are stubborn. They are extremely reclusive and unruly. They will not allow themselves to be captured without a fight. If it weren't for this, we would have taken down the Tianxian land tens and thousands of years ago. We would not have waited until today. The Cloud Master God did not think highly of the strength of the elite warriors of the Tianxian land. However, he was somewhat afraid of that hot-blooded temperament of the Tianxian land. "Big brother, we are not afraid of the elite warriors of the Tianxian land threatening you and me. However, if they refuse to cooperate and destroy the Tianxian land, we would rather die than live in dishonor. This is something we must be on guard against. With their madness, it's not impossible for them to do such a thing." The Cloud Master God must remind the Wind Master God that it was fine to look down on the elite warriors of the Tianxian land. However, if they underestimated their determination and destructive power, most likely it would make their plan go down the drain. After a moment of silence, the Wind Master God asked the Cloud Master God with a tone of asking for his opinion, "Second, according to you, what should we do?" The Cloud Master God said, "We must mobilize all of them. Once the soaring of Galaxia boundary of the Tianxian land is broken, all the elite warriors of the Wind and Cloud land will immediately divide into several groups and control the tyrannical powerhouses of the Tianxian land in batches. This way we can prevent large-scale destruction. We have planted so many spies at the Tianxian land. After tens and thousands of years of reproduction and management, it's impossible for us to not gain anything. We will form an intelligence connection with them immediately. Then, we will have an idea of how to deploy and control them. After we have an idea, we will move at a fast speed. We can take them down without giving them the chance to break a broken pot. This suggestion was definitely very rational. The words of the Cloud Master God had the heart of the Wind Master God calmed down somewhat as well. A snake cannot do without a head. Second, your suggestion is good. We will gather all the elite warriors of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. With 10 of them as a group, we will divide them into 20 groups. Then, we will add 100 genuine Supreme Tao elite warriors to each group. 120 people will form a group, and they will control the major powerhouses of the Tianxian land. We will form an intertwined system where we will cooperate and help each other. Then, you and I will carry out the beheading strategy with powerful and thunderous method. We will kill a group of elite warriors of the Tianxian land to intimidate those indigenous people. This way, we will not have to worry about the situation. If those ants of the Tianxian land are willing to cooperate, we will give them a chance to be slaves. If they don't cooperate, we will kill them directly. What do you say? At this moment, the Cloud Master God remained silent. Clearly, he had more plans. Seeing the Cloud Master God remain silent, the Wind Master God could not help but ask, "Second, what else do you think we missed?" The Cloud Master God laughed. "There is nothing missing. However, to control the Tianxian land completely, your strategy is still somewhat merciful. I am afraid beheading will not intimidate those martial artists of the Tianxian land. Additionally, the effect we need is not just intimidation. I secretly think—" "What?" The Wind Master God moved his brows. The Cloud Master God made a chopping motion with his palm and said eerily, "If we do not remove the roots when cutting the weeds, they will grow again when the spring breeze blows. If we want to turn the Tianxian land into our territory, we must cut off all the bloodlines of the Tianxian land, not leaving a single one. Not leaving a single one, slaughter them all?" Although the Wind Master God was vicious and merciless, he still felt apprehensive inwardly when he heard this suggestion. The Cloud Master God said lightly, "If we don't do this, how can we have a long and peaceful life? To cut the weeds and pull out the roots, those martial artists will spend some effort. As for the civilians, they are just ants. It will be as easy as blowing off dust to kill them. In 3 years we can completely clean them up." The Wind Master God was also emboldened by evil. A form of greedy desire dominated his thoughts as he nodded with a sinister smile. "That's right, to eliminate all future troubles, the best way is to strangle all the seeds of future troubles. Only this way will be the long-term solution. Or else, in the end, other people's territory will have their mark." When they said this, the two ambitious and ruthless Master Gods exchanged a glance and laughed viciously. "There is no time to lose, let's immediately gather all the elite warriors and form a team. Each of you will perform your duties, and tell them that the glorious holy war has begun. For survival, for better survival, the Tianxian land must be ours." After the two Master Gods had reached an agreement, they started to send out the Master God's order to gather all the heroes of the Fengyan land. A dimensional war was about to break out at any moment. Author's note: resuming the update, my condition is not good. I have only finished 1 chapter after 3 hours. Allow me to take it slow. Plus, my body is still recovering, please allow me to take it slow. Each day will get better and better. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 977. Under the call of the two Master Gods, The Weathering Land army that aimed to seize the Tianxian land gathered at the fastest speed. There were 20 assault teams with 120 people in each team. Under the leadership of the two master gods, these 2,400 people served as the vanguard. They were the core combat power of this assault. The second team consisted of tens of thousands of ordinary Supreme Tao elite warriors. Each of them was led by a powerful heavenly Supreme Tao elite warrior. They were in charge of occupying and clearing the land. This time, although the Weathering Land did not send out all their forces, they had basically sent out all their elite. Everyone, do you see that boundless soaring of Galaxia boundary? On the other side of the boundary is our future home. The Weathering Land is facing a calamity. We must find a suitable place for us to stay. The Tianxian land is the most suitable plane. Do you want to rebuild a home or do you want to live like homeless dogs? Give me an answer. The Wind Master God swept across everyone's face with his piercing gaze. This kind of tone caused everyone's heart to surge violently. Everyone had witnessed the current situation of the Weathering Land. It would be impossible to rebuild on the foundation of the Weathering Land. With such destruction, unless the Master of Creation could turn stone into gold, it would be a daydream to rebuild a home on the foundation of the Weathering Land. The only way out for the Weathering Land was to walk out, to find another home, a new home that belonged to them. Currently, the Tianxian land was their target. Either they would become homeless dogs, or they would seize the profound sky continent and make it their new home. This was not a difficult choice at all. They did not need to hesitate. Inside each person's heart, there was a common thought, a desire to invade. A chorus of giant roars was a response. Looking at the uplifted crowd, the Wind Master God was extremely satisfied. He turned around and said to the Cloud Master God, "Second, how about it? Are the hearts of the people working?" The Cloud Master God also laughed happily. "Great, with this state there is no need to worry about not taking down the Tianxian land. Do you want to say something?" The Wind Master God asked with a smile. The Cloud Master God nodded and cleared his throat. He said with a clear voice, "Everyone, I believe you are already clear about the meaning of this battle. I only have one request for you, and that is to do your best and unite as one. Theoretically speaking, our Fengyun continent should have a 90% chance of winning this battle. However, when going to a strange place, there might always be some unexpected accident. Therefore, they could only succeed in taking down the Tianxian land by being united and giving their all. We need to use the least amount of resources and sacrifice. Remember, we are looking for a home to live on, not a graveyard to sleep in. Therefore, my advice to all of you is to not underestimate the enemy. In terms of the difference between the Fengyun land and the Tianxian land, the battle from tens and thousands of years ago had fully demonstrated it. If it weren't for the fact that the Wind and Cloud Master Gods were mindful of their reputations and did not take action personally, they would have conquered the profound sky continent in that battle tens of thousands of years ago. And there wouldn't be such a later story. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. However, it was better to mend the pen after the sheep was lost. This battle must be won. Did you hear that? Don't be arrogant, don't underestimate your enemy, but don't belittle yourself either. Children, let the ants of the Tianxian land experience the true power of a powerful plane. Let's go. The Wind Master God waved his hand and issued the order. Transforming into two rays of divine light, he and the Cloud Master God stepped onto the Master God flying ship and headed towards the Tianxian land plain in a grandiose manner. More than a dozen flying boats were flying in the vast galaxy. In less than a day, they arrived above the soaring of Galaxia barrier. The Wind and Cloud Master Gods left the Master God flying ship and floated in the sky. They observed the movements of the airflow around the soaring of Galaxia barrier. After observing for a while, the Cloud Master God nodded. "Big brother, there are no abnormal movements. Although this soaring of Galaxia barrier is getting thinner, there are no loopholes. The martial artists of the Tianxian land will not leave the land. The Wind Master God laughed and said leisurely, "Then let's give them a surprise. They have been lonely for tens and thousands of years. I think they are somewhat bored." The Cloud Master God understood tacitly as the two of them channeled their divine skills. That octagonal lotus hammer flew out from the sleeve of the Wind Master God and transformed into colorful lights that filled the sky. Like a giant umbrella holding up the sky, it kept opening up. The shape of this octagonal lotus hammer was extremely beautiful. Once it was activated, all 8 corners opened up and dazzled like a blooming lotus. Go! 2 astonishing bursts of energy, carrying with them the aura of wind and clouds, swept through the void and pushed the octagonal lotus hammer, smashing it towards the soaring of Galaxia barrier. Boom! Instantly, the power of this attack exploded on the soaring of Galaxia barrier. Like a heavy bomb exploding on a calm surface, countless airflows kicked up waves and began to boil in the void. As though the airflow had suddenly exploded, it transformed into tens of thousands of airflows that shot out in all directions. In the blink of an eye, a dazzling meteor shower fell from the sky. Boom! The Master God's power pushed the octagonal lotus hammer and continued to bombard it. At first, it was just a small crack that was blasted open. Then, the crack grew larger and deeper, forming a giant hole. Like a giant whirlpool in the heavenly river, it continued to sink. This sort of earth-shattering aura caused the stars around the Tianxian land to dim and change in color. Inwardly, the Wind and Cloud Master Gods were also feeling apprehensive. They did not underestimate the defensive barrier of the Tianxian land and had always valued it. Now, after using the heavenly honorable divine weapon to bombard it, they finally knew that this soaring of Galaxia barrier was not a bluff. Under the repeated bombardment of their heavenly honorable divine weapon, they still could not break it open completely. Although a giant hole had already appeared on the soaring of Galaxia barrier, it was clear that they would need to bombard it 3 more times in order to completely destroy it. However, this was where the power of the heavenly honorable divine weapon lay. After driving it with all their strength and bombarding it so many times, in fact, they were already at the point where they were completely exhausted. They were simply incapable of supporting 3 more bombardments. The Wind Master God let out a bitter laugh. Second, this soaring of Galaxia barrier is much more troublesome than you and I thought. It's hard to believe that those ants of the Tianxian land, even with their divine souls sealed, could it be this tough? The Cloud Master God sighed. It seems that those legends about the Tianxian land have some basis. Big brother, this is an opportunity and also a challenge. Yes, you and I will rest for half a day and recover some vitality. When we have recovered, we will bombard it again and break it in one go. The Wind Master God said. The Cloud Master God nodded and ordered in a clear voice, "Everyone, wait for orders. Listen to my orders." Inside the Tong Tian Tower of the Tianxian land, clearly all Paramount Totem elite warriors had already sensed the rumbling sensation of the soaring of Galaxia barrier on the verge of collapse. Each of them trembled with fear as they immediately stood up to observe. They only saw that on top of the peaceful soaring of Galaxia barrier, all of a sudden, the airflow was boiling like boiling water. Suddenly, the entire soaring of Galaxia barrier was on the verge of collapse and could shatter at any moment. The complexion of Golden Ray Dragon King changed drastically. They came this quickly? Wang Chan also inhaled a breath of cold air and was the first to react. Inform Wushuang first. Initially, Xian Yuanyang was extremely hostile to the Qin clan. Now, following Qin Wushuang's domineering attitude, Xian Yuanyang kept putting down his stance as the Paramount Totem elite warrior. Up to this point, he had no choice but to lower his noble head. Currently, Qin Wushuang was the undisputed savior of the Tianxian land. Not to mention them, the paramount totem elite warriors, even the rulers of the Tian land, the heavenly mysterious 7 disciples, followed Qin Wushuang's lead blindly. Not to mention, after Qin Wushuang soared to the Galaxia, he brought back a group of tigers and wolves from the outside world. He allowed them to see what it meant to have a sky beyond a sky. Staying in such a corner of the Tian land, they were too isolated. When the group of elite warriors reacted, they passed this news to Qin Wushuang immediately. Finally, they are here? Qin Wushuang slowly walked out from the Holy Emperor's flying boat. With a smile, he looked at everyone at the scene. Everyone, it seems the Weathering Land can no longer hold back. This is the battle they have been looking forward to for a long time. However, isn't this also the battle we have been looking forward to for a long time? The Sound Demon roared with laughter. Young master, this battle will be the battle that will make you famous. You must display your imposing manner, your prestige, and show off your power to the Weathering Land. After all these years of consolidation, Qin Wushuang had also achieved substantial consolidation at the Master God stage. Especially when combining the skills of various major weapons, he had trained them to a brand new level. He was not boasting, but for that soaring of Galaxia barrier, he could definitely hold back 10,000 enemies. At the moment, he revealed a light smile and said, "Sound Demon, gather the divine guards and support me. I will take the lead." The Sound Demon laughed. "Young master, do you plan to leave me behind? There is no need to use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken." Qin Wushuang revealed a leisurely smile. "You 9 great demon gods can mingle with the divine guards. Listen to my orders." Then, he turned to say to Li Bai, "Senior brother, you are in charge of stabilizing the situation at the Tian land. For this battle, I will not let them burn the flames of war into the Tian land." Li Bai nodded seriously. "Okay, Wushuang, you must take care." "Ha ha, those bastards from the Weathering Land should take care." The Sound Demon roared with laughter and said to Qin Wushuang, "Young master, the team is already gathering. Get ready to go at any time." "Okay, in 15 minutes, we will head to the soaring of Galaxia Tower." In 15 minutes, the team departed on time. Initially, Qin Wushuang had rescued this divine guards from the 10,000 Lost Track Palace. Although there were less than 3,000 people, each of them were elite. They were not inferior to the overall quality of the team from the Weathering Land. After all, they were all subordinates of the Sound Demon, the 9 great demon gods. Naturally, the subordinates of a heavenly warrior were stronger than the elites from the Weathering Land. The mighty team gathered at the soaring of Galaxia Tower. When those paramount totem elite warriors saw such an imposing team, they were so astonished that they could not speak. Among this team of 3,000 people, at least 300 or 500 of them were above them in terms of individual strength. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 978. Wang Chan had a good relationship with Qin Wushuang. He welcomed him with a smile. "Peerless Master God, we have been waiting for you for a long time." Among these people, only Wang Chan dared to make fun of Qin Wushuang. When that Xian Yuanyang saw Qin Wushuang, he no longer had the arrogance and aggressiveness he had in the past. He evaded his eyes and appeared extremely embarrassed. Fortunately, Qin Wushuang was not a person who held grudges. He only smiled lightly and said to Wang Chan and the others, "Everyone, my senior brother Li Bai is waiting for you down there. The general situation of the Tian land still needs your prestige to stabilize it. For now, you don't need to get involved with the soaring of Galaxia barrier." Upon hearing the words of Qin Wushuang, Wang Chan and the others would not step out bravely. After all, they knew that once the great army of the wind and cloud land pressed on the border, they would not have much of a chance to contribute. With their strength, before the great army of the wind and cloudland, they were only ordinary chess pieces. Since they did not need to charge and break through enemy lines, they would not be pretentious and display their so-called hot-bloodedness. Instead, they knew the situation and left. Of course, they must say a few words of courtesy. After Wang Quan and the others left, Qin Wushuang let the divine guards rest temporarily at the soaring of Galaxia Tower. He took a few elite warriors to the highest point to observe the situation of the soaring of Galaxia barrier. At this moment, the attack from the wind and cloudland had stopped. Although the soaring of Galaxia barrier was rather chaotic, it was still rather stable. However, the cracks on the Starry River boundary formation were already very clear. Impressive, Heavenly Venerate Inma murmured. Boss, what's so powerful about this? Tu Weng did not mind. I think it's just that. The attack power is not strong. If it was strong enough, it would have been blasted open already. What do you know? The sound demon laughed strangely. I am saying that this soaring of Galaxia barrier is powerful. It could hold on until now after being attacked by a heavenly honorable divine weapon. Young master, your Tianxian land is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers, haha. Qin Wushuang said with a smile. Back then, the ancestors of the profound sky continent sacrificed their souls to lay down this astral river barrier. If it weren't for my master secretly exerting some strength, I'm afraid it wouldn't have been able to withstand the tiger-like momentum of the Fengyun continent. If you want to talk about how powerful my master is, he can delay the attack for tens of thousands of years with a few casual moves. That's the true power. Haha, that's what I meant. Young master, your master is amazing. I'm afraid he's no worse than that old man Qi Yang. The sound demon was rather pertinent. Sound demon, don't just brag. Look, why did the Fengyun continent suddenly stop attacking? It can't be that he retreated in the face of difficulties, right? The sound demon chuckled. Retreat in the face of difficulties? Young master, aren't you underestimating the courage of those fugitives? Unless a butcher's knife is placed over their heads, it's wishful thinking to expect them to retreat in the face of difficulties. That's for the best. Qin Wushuang sneered. Let's tell them now that this is our territory and they can't do whatever they want. Tens of thousands of years ago, they invaded the profound sky continent and did whatever they wanted. Tens of thousands of years later, we must let them know that the profound sky continent is a forbidden area that they can never touch. All right, young master, I realize you're becoming more domineering, the sound demon teased. When facing an opponent at the master god level, the sound demon truly could not muster up the energy to be serious. Now, his power was almost fully recovered. Unless the heavenly lord of the great Qian came to kill him personally, it would be impossible for the sound demon to take him seriously. Qin Wushuang looked at the tottering astral river barrier and said with a smile, Everyone, why don't you and I work together to blast open this astral river barrier? How about it? All right. 10 figures rose from the ground. Each of them revealed their strongest weapons and crashed towards the gap in the astral river barrier with loud rumbles. Boom! The astral river barrier that was already in tatters finally shattered completely under the ravaging of this powerful attack. Like a mirror that was smashed into smithereens, flowing lights flew everywhere and surged with splendor. It was as if an incomparably magnificent meteor shower had started to fall again. At the same time, in this extremely dazzling meteor shower, a valiant figure with intense purple light soared into the clouds from below and dashed towards the boundless astral river. This person carried a pair of swords on his back and crossed his arms over his chest. He had a handsome appearance, a tall and straight posture and sharp edges. Coupled with his sharp, blade-like features and temperament, he was like a sharp and austere blade that hung in the vast astral river. The wind and cloud master god became alert the moment the astral river barrier shattered. The guardian team from all around also consciously gathered around and formed a defensive wall. The wind and cloud master gods looked into the distance and saw that on the other side of the profound sky continent there was only a young man in the midst of a soaring purple cloud. He stood heroically on the other side of the astral river, giving people a feeling of grandeur and grandeur. "Big brother, what's going on?" The cloud master god was a little confused. Judging by the aura of the barrier shattering, it had clearly broken out from within the profound sky continent. Logically speaking, the profound sky continent did not even have the time to surround the astral river barrier. Why would they be so crazy as to take the initiative to shatter it? This was simply subverting all common knowledge. There was definitely something fishy going on. The corner of the cloud master god's mouth twitched slightly as he muttered, "Big brother, it seems that we have still underestimated the profound sky continent." "What do you mean?" The wind master god's heart tightened as well. These two were powerful beings who had been master gods for many years. Naturally, they had extremely sharp eyesight. When they saw Qin Wushuang standing there with such an imposing aura, they could already tell what was going on. Master God? The profound sky continent has actually produced their own master god? The cloud master god said in disbelief, "Big brother, the aura of this young man is not inferior to yours or mine." The wind master god sneered coldly, "So what? He's just a kid who's still wet behind the ears. Even if he were to become a master god by luck, how could he fight against you and me? I think there's an 80% chance that the profound sky continent has indeed had some fortuitous encounters that have given birth to this upstart kid. Look at how brazenly this kid is swaggering up here alone. Clearly, this is an impulsive action of a young man. Just by looking at this point alone, we know that this person is not difficult to deal with." The cloud master god felt that the wind master god's judgment was not without basis. It was just that this accident had come a little too suddenly and was not on the path that they had planned. This feeling of deviating from the path gave him a vague, ominous feeling in his heart. "Big brother, how's your situation?" "I've recovered about 70% to 80%. How about you?" the wind master god asked. "I've also recovered about 70% to 80%. The cloud master god said, "Big brother, I'll go test him out and find out what sort of background this young man has." "All right, number 2, it'll be good for you to go meet him." The wind master god nodded in agreement. The cloud master god flew out of the flying ship. Riding on the master god auspicious light, he dashed to the other side of the galaxy and came to a stop 3,000 meters away from Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang let out a cold laugh. "What, with the army of the wind and cloud continent bearing down on our borders, could it be that you still want to be gracious and play a one-on-one game with me?" Upon hearing Qin Wushuang's words, the cloud master god had even more doubts in his heart. "What is your background? By the looks of it, you don't seem to be an elite warrior from the profound sky continent, right?" Qin Wushuang smiled calmly. "I'm not an elite warrior from the profound sky continent, so I don't think I need to trouble you people of the wind and cloud continent to interfere, right? If I'm not wrong, between the wind and cloud master gods, you must be that cloud master god." Having his identity exposed, the cloud master god was even more bewildered. Clearly, this young man had some understanding of their background. His appearance here was definitely not an accident, but a premeditated one. Back then, the profound sky continent offended my wind and cloud continent. Today, we must settle the grudge that has spanned tens of thousands of years. Are you an elite warrior from the profound sky continent? If not, there's no need for you to get involved in this quarrel. In the end, the cloud master god did not wish to fall out with Qin Wushuang. Inwardly, he still harbored some hope. Offended? I only heard that tens of thousands of years ago, a group of foreign tribes invaded the profound sky continent like tigers and wolves. They were either killed or sealed by the ancestors of the profound sky continent. There was also a group of remaining spies hidden in various places of the profound sky continent. In these 100 years they were completely dug out and wiped out. I wonder, where is the offense you're talking about? Qin Wushuang's words were neither salty nor mild. Yet, like a sharp knife, they pierced the Cloud Master God's divine soul. Just who are you? From what I know, the profound sky continent cannot nurture elite warriors of the Master God level, right? If you want to stand out forcefully, I'm afraid it's not a wise choice, right? Ha ha, what a good way to stand out forcefully! Qin Wushuang scolded angrily. Although your wind and cloud continent has the ambition to be a bandit, is your brain made of paste? I came from the profound sky continent, so if I'm not from the profound sky continent, where am I from? Impossible. I know the weight of the profound sky continent very well. Tens of thousands of years ago, the strongest warrior in the profound sky continent was an advanced fifth calamity heavenly god. Now, after tens of thousands of years, the soaring of Galaxia boundary has been sealed. How could a master god elite warrior appear? Don't you know how to lie? Qin Wushuang did not argue. So what if I'm not an elite warrior of the profound sky continent? In the end, that wolf-like team behind you wants to run over me, right? Let me give you a piece of advice. It's not easy to cultivate to your level of strength. You must know, a wise man submits to circumstances. Even if you are the master god of the profound sky continent, with your divine skills alone, it's like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Qin Wushuang laughed. Suddenly, his expression sank. It doesn't matter if you're a mantis trying to stop a chariot or walking right into a trap. I'll only know what's going on after I try. Let's see, will your so-called 100,000 supreme Tao stones sink into the ocean, or will my mantis arm be broken by you? Are you really going to stop me? Cloud Master God's tone became stern. When friends come, good wine will be served. When vicious dogs come, sticks will be used to greet them. You vicious dogs have been barking at the door of the profound sky continent for tens of thousands of years. It's time to clean them up. Don't you want some peace and quiet? Qin Wushuang's tone was incomparably sharp and did not leave any leeway. Cloud Master God was furious, but he laughed loudly. Good, such big words. Let me see just how many divine skills you have that you dare to boast. Before his voice had dropped, the clouds around Cloud Master God floated up rapidly as if dancing, forming rings of cloud waves. It was an extremely magnificent sight. Qin Wushuang did not dare to be negligent. It was his first time fighting against a master god. He must be 120% alert. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 979. A battle at the Master God level was absolutely astonishing. Before the two great warriors had even made a move, the entire sky above the profound sky continent was already densely covered with nebulae. All kinds of energy fluctuations were like rolling ocean waves, rolling in the sky above the boundless galaxy, forming a magnificent scene. Below, inside the Star River Skysplit Tower, Heavenly Sovereign Enmo leisurely crossed his legs. His expression was extremely relaxed. Clearly, he was not worried about Qin Wushuang for this battle. On the other hand, Lin Jingfeng's expression was somewhat strange. It was not because of old ties. In fact, although he was the last disciple of the Wind Master God, he did not have any feelings for the Wind Master God because the latter had killed all his family members. However, Lin Jingfeng was well aware of the Wind Master God's formidable strength. Now that the Wind Master God had finally arrived, Lin Jingfeng's fear towards him was still more or less ingrained in his bones. Jingfeng, what are you nervous about? The Sound Demon smiled faintly, but a sharp glint shot out from his eyes. Clearly, He was a little displeased by this disciple's lack of composure. How would Lin Jingfeng dare to reply? He could only smile apologetically. Fortunately, the sound demon did not pursue the matter. Instead, he asked, Jingfeng, you have cultivated with the Wind Master God for so long. You should know some details about the Wind Cloud mainland. Just what kind of backing does the Wind and Cloud Master Gods of the Wind Cloud mainland have that they would dare to invade other dimensions with such fanfare in the Great Qian Star Zone? In this aspect, Lin Jingfeng more or less knew a little. He said, the greatest backing of the Wind Cloud mainland is the Heavenly Lord of the Great Qian. And that Heavenly Lord of the Great Qian is said to be very close to powerful beings at the level of the Holy Emperor. The two Master Gods of the Wind Cloud mainland are the confidants of the Heavenly Lord of the Great Qian and also his henchmen. There are many things that the Heavenly Lord of the Great Qian can't do personally, so the Wind and Cloud Master Gods would do it for him in secret. Therefore, their relationship is very close. It's no wonder that they can do whatever they want in the Great Qian Star Zone after hugging the thigh of the Heavenly Lord of the Great Qian Star Zone. The sound demon's tone had a trace of disdain. In his opinion, even the Heavenly Lord of the Great Qian was nothing. In a place like the Grand Qian Star Zone, the sound demon, who had run amok in the past, didn't care about this place at all. However, whether the Heavenly Lord of the Great Qian really had any shady dealings with the Holy Emperor was indeed something worth paying attention to. If he were to accidentally offend a powerful being like the Holy Emperor, he would be in a lot of trouble. The sound demon was very conceited and looked down on celestial venerables. However, a heavenly king, even the weakest heavenly sovereign, would be able to kill his strongest heavenly sovereign in a split second. Celestial venerables were 8th tribulation heavenly gods. The Holy Emperor, on the other hand, had gone through 9 tribulations and was an immortal existence. Other than the ruler of the Daluo universe, the Holy Emperor was the strongest existence. The Holy Emperor was a super expert who had touched the core of the universe. He was a top expert who had comprehended the laws of time and space. Therefore, experts at the level of the Holy Emperor were called experts at the level of a small universe. What was the universe? It was called the universe, and since ancient times, it had been called the universe. The universe actually meant an infinite amount of time and space. It was all-encompassing and meant everything. In fact, any heavenly supreme Tao expert had already begun to dabble in the control of the universe's origin power. It was only when one reached the Lord God level that one could be considered to have reached the next level. A Lord God's ability to control laws was applicable to a plane. He could control the day and night, the 4 seasons, and so on. These laws couldn't be compared to the space-time laws of the entire Daluo universe. However, there were countless cultivators in the Daluo universe, and very few could become lords. Of course, the sound demon didn't care about the wind and cloud lords, but it didn't mean that the others could do the same. Everyone, including the second demon Venerable Tu Weng, wanted to feast their eyes on it. At the level of a lord, unless it was an extremely important occasion, there were very few opportunities for lords to directly confront each other. This was because a battle of this level would either not be fought, or once it began, it would be earth-shattering. The scope and destructive power of the battle would be unpredictable. If they fought fiercely in a certain plane, it could even destroy the entire plane. Day and night would be reversed, and the 4 seasons would be abnormal. This was because a battle between lords, apart from a physical fight, also contained the power of the natural order. Once the power of the natural order clashed, it would completely disrupt the natural order of the plane. This would lead to chaos in the plane, and large-scale climate abnormalities and geological changes would occur, leading to the end of the plane. Therefore, in a battle between lords, if they could control it, they generally wouldn't use the power of the natural order excessively. If they wanted to use the power of the natural order in a battle, they would have to choose an uninhabited plane where no race existed, or they might as well fight fiercely in the skies above the vast galaxy. Although a fierce battle in the galaxy could trigger a space-time vortex at any time. Once the space-time vortex was triggered, even a Lord God-level expert wouldn't be able to withstand its suction power. Once caught in the space-time vortex, even a Lord God-level expert wouldn't have much hope of escaping. If it was a heavenly Supreme Tao expert below the Lord God level, only death would await them. It would be a miracle if they could survive. But of course, only heavenly Supreme Tao experts and above could charge into the galaxy. As for experts below the heavenly Supreme Tao level, they didn't even have the ability to charge into the galaxy, let alone enter it. The Heaven Branch Kuei Wolf twin swords were like two azure dragons that were roaming the great void. With an aura that could devour the entire galaxy, they swallowed and spat in the skies above the galaxy with an extremely terrifying might. These two azure dragon auras swept through the skies as though they could shatter the entire galaxy. With long tails, they struck out at the Cloud Master God relentlessly. Qin Wushuang was filled with confidence. Facing the Cloud Master God, who had made a name for himself for hundreds of thousands of years, his control of the Heaven Branch Kuei Wolf twin swords was extremely adept, causing the Cloud Master God to be at a loss. The Cloud Master God did not underestimate his opponent. Right from the start, he was 120% focused. But it was only when they truly exchanged blows that he realized just how frightening this young man was. However, the Cloud Master God still felt that the reason why this young man had launched such an attack right from the start was because he was worried that he wouldn't have enough stamina to back it up. Therefore, he wanted to take him down a notch. The Cloud Master God had been through countless life and death battles. His battle experience was much richer than Qin Wushuang's. Therefore, even though he looked a little passive on the surface, he did not lose his composure. On the contrary, he was extremely calm as he observed every single move that Qin Wushuang made. A battle at the level of Master Gods would naturally not be one where you slashed with your saber and I slashed with my sword. The spirits of Master Gods were abnormally strong. Using their spirits to control legendary weapons, the scope of the battle spanned thousands of miles in the blink of an eye, moving at the speed of light. Under the pincer attack of the two swords, even though the Cloud Master God did not end up in a wretched state, he could not do so with ease either. In truth, even though the Cloud Master God did not lose his composure, he was still extremely shocked in his heart. After all, he had not expected that this opponent would be this difficult to deal with. Such a young Master God. Even if he were a Master God of the Tianxian continent, he would at most have broken through to become a Master God within the past 100 years. For an opponent like this, even if he was extremely talented, he should not be that difficult to deal with. However, it was only when they exchanged blows that the Cloud Master God realized just how wrong his judgment was. Under the ferocious attacks of Qin Wushuang, the Cloud Master God realized that it was a fool's dream to think of finding a chance to counterattack while defending. It was obvious that his opponent's attack was not as simple as he had expected. On the contrary, the other party's attacks were not only continuous and relentless, but the most frightening thing was that he had an extremely good grasp of the rhythm. He did not just chase after the enemy relentlessly, but was attacking from the most difficult angles to defend from. Every single time the Cloud Master God felt that there was an opening that he could exploit, the other party's attacks would arrive like a phantom. The coordination of those two swords could be said to be flawless as well. Such a frightening attack had the Cloud Master God wondering if this opponent was one of those old freaks who was adept at hiding his age. The frightening thing was not just the ferocity of the attacks. The opponent's experience and judgment were even more mature. Even a Master God like the Cloud Master God, who had been on the battlefield for a long time, could not find a single opening. Since when did such a frightening young man appear in the Tianxian continent? The Cloud Master God had a stomach full of questions. However, this was clearly not the time for him to be puzzled. Under such a ferocious and impenetrable attack, dodging blindly would not only affect the morale of the enemy, it would also make it easier for the enemy to break through his defenses. Even though it was not to the extent of a complete defeat, the Cloud Master God did not wish to see his opponent gain the upper hand all the time. Furthermore, the great army of the Wind Cloud continent was watching the battle from the back. The Cloud Master God spread out his arms as though a pair of gigantic wings were spreading out between his arms. As those wings flapped a couple of times, the surrounding nebulas seemed to have been summoned as they gathered over at a rapid speed. Around the Cloud Master God, clusters of nebulas formed a gigantic diagram that resembled a giant that could support the heavens. The defense formed by those nebulas was like a series of shields that allowed Qin Wushuang to control the two swords and attack relentlessly. Within those nebulas, the Dharma powers of the Cloud Master God split into thousands and thousands of them. It was as though there was a Dharma golden body behind every single cluster of nebulas. Qin Wushuang was secretly startled. Looking at the transformations of the Dharma powers, he knew that this was a change of the rules of the universe. It was completely different from the usual illusions. Indeed, the Sky Branch Kuei Wolf twin swords had lost their target of attack amidst the illusions of the changes of the rules. Like two frenzied bulls that had lost their target, they circled wildly in the skies. They let out a series of mournful sword cries. Qin Wushuang snorted coldly as he glared with his Dharma eyes. His body spun rapidly as well, activating the purple cloud yin-yang wings. Under the stimulation of the power of the divine Tao, his Dharma body was transforming continuously as well. All of a sudden, Qin Wushuang grabbed out with a single arm, grabbing the graceful spiritual bow in his hands. Within the graceful spiritual bow, the spirit of the Shura of Gojoseon was unprecedentedly active as it communicated with Qin Wushuang passionately. Wushuang, go, devour him. Devour him. If there's a powerful being of the Master God level serving as a feast for me, the power of my spirit will recover by at least 20 to 30%. Go. Devour him. The graceful spiritual bow shone with a strange golden glow that was as scorching as the blazing sun. It was as though the wild aura that had been suppressed for millions of years was looking for a target to vent it on. If you want to know what happened next, please visit www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author and support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.